harness resilience through the pain. I'm a warrior.
It's the moment I've been waiting for. Told myself I couldn't wait no more. When it's wartime, then I'm way too hard. If you try to give me 3, then I'm taking 4. And it's non-stop and you off your rocks. Beast mode, but I'm out the box. I grip and squeeze till you on your knees and tear off your sleeves like a half the time.
Demonstrate my mentality. Activate.
Engines are revving, pistons are firing, horns be a beeping. Welcome into FNCS Europe. It is Major 1 Week 2. My name is Adam Savage. Great to have you here again, returning to the Underground Secret HQ. I'm joined by the brilliant Agents Live and 2K and Mini Miner. Welcome in, fellas. We have got so much to look forward to here. It's great to see you. I mean, we had an amazing week 1 here. It was fast, frenetic, it was frantic. Mini, part 2 is said to be even bigger, better, faster, stronger.
Yep, Agent Mini Miner here reporting for duty. We're ready for week number 2. I'm excited, man. I'm excited. Week number 1 was crazy, especially on the broadcast here. We're going from endgame to endgame. It was completely unreal. I was excited for that, and I'm even more excited for today because this is actually the last chance that players get to qualify for the upper bracket and even the semi-finals in total for some teams. So lots on the line today, lots to look forward to.
Yeah, I ain't ever experienced anything that fast-paced on a show like this, so I'm looking forward to running it back. Do you know what I mean? The action was all there. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean, the new format, you guys at home, sure, I'm no doubt enjoyed it as well. Mini, I mean, the players have got to be looking forward to this. Well, last chance to get some points ahead of a couple of weeks' time when things really do start to escalate. Yeah,
and we went into last week with a big question mark over what the format was going to bring. How are players going to play with this top 250 teams format as opposed to a single lobby? And I think a lot of players now have become a lot more streetwise about how to go about these lobbies, how to play these end games, when to go for high elimination games, when to not, and when to go for those placements. So I'm interested to see how that development happens today because we saw some great action last week, and I'm sure this week will be absolutely no different.
Yeah, 11. You, I mean, to me, you always seem you're always such an excitable. You love drama, you love entertainment, and I know this week as well. I mean, there's a lot of players we're going to touch on very soon, but this is a great chance to celebrate what has been an unbelievable chapter thus far as well.
Of course, man. You know me. I'm all about the stories. Whether the stories are good stories or bad stories, I'm about the stories. And I think last week showed that there are plenty of stories to unravel as the season goes, and we've already seen some of them in the rounds leading up to this, right? Certain players maybe not quite making it to round 4, I'm sure we'll touch on, but even then, man, I think this season has so much potential for honestly some of the coolest stories we've seen in EU in a long time.
Yeah, I'm surprised you and Levin haven't signed up as well to kind of as a duo. I'm surprised you. I mean, I know what you're doing. You're actively here, thinking, let's get everyone else a chance. Let's get everyone else a chance right now because we would dominate. I know the score. I know the score, you two. Right, let's actually recast our minds back to last weekend as well. Here, take a look at some of the stats coming out of our first week of action as well here, and kind of really which players were starting to really shine in this competition here. Mini, take us through some of the stats here. What really stands out for you?
I mean, Pink and Vico, what a performance from those guys last week, of course, coming out on top, first place finish. And this was a duo that a lot of people were excited about, me particularly as well, very, very excited about this duo. And they performed last week incredibly well. We saw them there in the statistics. They are high up in those rankings. Bill's plays from Pink. We can see him IGLing really, really well. So that's a duo I'm really, really excited to see if they can continue that today.
Yeah, no, I agree. Pink and Vico are spectacular. I don't expect anything less from them. They are top team.
All right, let me ask you a question for a second here, and I'm sure everyone's really excited to know about this as well because we love hearing from you both. Levin, if you, based on last week, based on the players we saw in the discussion, which player, if you had to choose just one, who would you have as a teammate? Who would you kind of say, right, that is my player 2, that's who I'm duoing up with? Who would you choose personally?
You know what? I think there's a lot of great candidates, but for me, I think I'd go with Mustache. I think I would go Mustache. You saw him there. He was #1 damage dealt last week. He's a player that I think goes quite underrated when you're talking about top players in the EU. I think everyone knows he's a great fragger, but I think as a teammate, he doesn't get much better than Mustache a lot of the times. I look at Moustache's journey as a player, Mini, and I really, really resonate with him because you look at last year, he won FNCS at the start of the year playing with Tayson, but as the year progressed, his confidence started to decrease. There was a lot of pressure on him. I think the relationship with Tayson had started to break down a bit. I remember multiple times myself having to speak to him and remind him, look, bro, you're Moustache, you got to be a lot more confident. I know things aren't easy right now, but you have to remember you are that guy. This year, he's back playing with Malabuka, and I think that confidence is back, and it showed in week 1. They were lighting up the world. Malabuka was having the time of his life leading playing with Moustache because he does what you're seeing here on screen. He just wipes everybody out in his path.
Yeah, he is. And I mean, Moustache did lose a lot of that confidence last year, as you mentioned. Of course, they did win major #1, Moustache and Tayson. So I think just being on that high, being on that victory start to the year can just have a detrimental effect. So if Moustache isn't at that level throughout the year, he wasn't quite focused on actually being at that level and not quite happy with his performances, you could say. So I'm hoping for them they can just improve on that this year, right? Back with Malabuka now, back on sort of home turf, maybe a little bit more comfort within that duo, being able to play with each other for such a long time before that. So I'm expecting a little bit less of that this year for Moustache, and it's honestly quite a good pick there. It's a different one, definitely, but I like the pick for a duo. I like it. I mean, he's got a bit of carrying to do, though, if he's going to play.
And I think with me leading, because I'm such a great leader in IGL, as long as Moustache just follows with his shotgun out, you know, we're winning games. That's all that matters.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think, Minnie, I think you can agree with me here that if I had an inspirational 11-2K in my corner, that would make my life a whole lot better. I mean, we're exactly the same way.
I have in ranked, and it hasn't worked out that well, so I'm not going to choose 11-2K for my teammate. You know, I'm actually going to choose someone else. I'm going to say Mr. Savage as my teammate.
Okay.
I think that's who I'd be choosing here. A little bit of a wild one, right? Of course, you know, 11, you've gone for a fragger. You might be thinking, oh, he's not a fragger, he's an RGL. But I think Mr. Savage is a fantastic choice to duo up with. He's in prime form right now. A lot of people are saying, and myself included, this guy is almost at his peak right now. This is unbelievable gameplay from Mr. Savage. We're seeing some crazy performances, of course, playing with Mongrel at the moment. And of course, Mongrel is no noob, right? He's not new to competitive Fortnite, but he hasn't played for a long time. So being able to lead the top, being able to do all of that damage as he's been doing in these late games, while still also tarping, leading, doing a lot of that hard work as well at the front side of his harp is so impressive for Mr. Savage. And I think this is something that I certainly was quite surprised at how well this duo are performing, because I just wasn't expecting this from them at all.
Yeah, it's interesting because I actually wouldn't say I was surprised by it.
Okay.
Just because I think when I looked last year, before Mr. Savage started playing with Mongrel, he was playing a bit with a couple of different people, but Pink in particular, right? They won that DreamHack event, and Mr. Savage just looked unbelievable. I remember watching him and thinking, oh my goodness, like he's reaching a whole new level. And you have to remember, Minnie, this is a player that's been in comp longer than anybody. He's been in since day one. So the fact that we're 4 or 5 years in and we're going, you know, I think he's hitting another peak. Like it does speak to his greatness. And yeah, I'd have to say, when I'm watching him play with Mongrel, again, big respects to Mongrel. I don't want the Mongrel army coming after me, but Mr. Savage is a one-man army. He is unreal.
Yeah. Okay, Moustache, Mr. Savage. I mean, I'm sure everyone at home is wondering why neither of you have chosen Veno as well. I mean, Veno has got to be part of this conversation. It's got to be here. 11, this is a player that we have just championed time and time again, and definitely one worth watching out for in this competition as well. Yeah,
I think the reality is probably a bunch of people probably thought, how did none of them pick Veno? The truth is, I didn't pick Veno just because I just want to be a bit different, to be honest. You know, I wanted to spice it up a little bit, to be real with you, Minnie. But Veno would, I think, be the obvious choice for most people.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, just look at the statistics here. 32 eliminations out of the total 41 that those guys had last week. They didn't even have the best start to the day, right? You know, we often talk about Veno being on top of his game, and they didn't actually have that great of a start last week, but how they finished was absolutely incredible. It showed a little bit of a taste as to what we're going to expect from this duo, because, of course, Veno on his own, when paired up with anyone, even 11-2K, he's going to pop off.
Absolutely, man. This guy is an animal. I think it just says so much that his stats look so impressive, and they came like 66th last week. They weren't even in the top 50. Do you know what I mean? So this is clearly a player that is, in my opinion, the best player in the world right now. I think you ask most people who's the best player in the world right now, most of them would say Veno. His snipes this season have been on a whole nother level. They've been Thomas HD like when it comes to the snipers. Him and Tayson, the chemistry maybe hasn't been quite there. They're still, going through the paces, but Veno is undoubtedly one of the best teammates you could have in any era of Fortnite ever.
Yeah, I think it's a great point to make here. I mean, we must talk about other teams here as well. Part of our team as well, of course, we have ourselves Takata and Jacob, the casters of this fine show as well here. We're going to talk to those guys very shortly, but I know they'll be kind of wanting to champion as well, a team that we have to talk about, which is Thomas, HD, and Queasy. I mean, what do you think about this, Len? What do you think about this duo as well here? What is so special about these two, and why should they absolutely be on everybody's radar today as well?
Well, I really wanted to talk about Thomas and Queasy, Adam, because last week we saw them play, pretty well, right? They came 15th, but they were playing a lot of low ground mini, and I think a lot of people were sort of looking at it thinking, hold on a minute, this isn't the norm for Queasy and Thomas. Historically, Queasy is that high ground player in EU. He's the guy where any end game you look up, you're expecting to see Queasy, but I think the key thing here is that, why is Thomas and Queasy now deciding we're not going to play as much high ground as you'd maybe expect? Why are they so insistent on maybe not playing that way? And I think the answer is two things, Mini. First one, have you watched Thomas HD with the mythic shotgun in hand? Yep. This guy is ridiculous, and I think when I've asked Queasy about it, he said, yeah, man, when Thomas has that shotgun, I just want him, mid and low ground fragging out as much as possible. And I think the second biggest thing for them when sort of looking at it, and Queasy hasn't explicitly said this to me himself, but this season there's so many different ways you can take height. It can get quite messy up there, right? It's not easy to hold height from first moving like Queasy used to do back in the day, right? You have so many problems and so many things you have to be aware of and looking out for.
Yeah, I mean, we must talk about low ground to high ground as well on this team and the versatility here, Mini, because there is so much that they can do in any given situation. They find a way.
Yeah, it is. I mean, this is a duo that can perform on high ground, of course. We've seen Queasy performing there before, and of course low ground, as Levin just beautifully broke down. They're doing 89% of their damage in late game from that low ground section, but this is Queasy we're talking about, right? They're still going to be looking to try and play that high ground. They're still going to be in that position to try and play that because they're in those sort of areas to take high ground. As you mentioned, Levin, there's so many different ways that people can take high ground this season, and so many different ways that people can look up at height, that there's always that opportunity. There's always that small inkling in the back of Queasy's mind that he has to just look out for. Maybe this is a potential high ground take, maybe this isn't, but with the way they're playing on low ground right now, it seems like they just got so many tools in their toolbox, so many sort of strings to their bow that they can just pull on at any moment they like, and they're just such a well-rounded team, which is quite contrary to what we've seen from Queasy in the past, right? I think it's been a little bit of a detriment to some of his performances sometimes, is that he almost has this ego about height sometimes, back in the day. I want to be on height. I am the high ground king of EU. He seems to have lost that now with Thomas, which is really, really good for this duo, in my opinion, because they can just now play whenever they want, wherever they want, and with the experience of both of these guys, you can see the performances. It's doing so well so far.
Yeah, I think what we're seeing in EU is a very stark evolving of play style and strategy amongst the top players. Back in the day in EU, you look at a lobby and there is going to be a couple teams where you go, this is the high ground team. Now, that's not the case, right? And I think what we're seeing from a lot of the top teams is people play high ground when it is most suitable to them. There isn't that mentality of, we're just going to play high ground because that's what we do as a team, right? It's looking for those right opportunities. It's the combination of the right zones, the right setup, the right loot, and then we look to play high.
Yeah, and that's what we're seeing. We're seeing them play that high ground more so than not. So it's like this, or that low ground as well as that high ground, right? So we're seeing the transition from that low ground to high ground in a lot of their games. You mentioned there, Adam, or as you mentioned there, Levin, I should say. You broke it down beautifully. These guys can obviously go for the high ground as well. They're not just one of those players that, or one of those teams that are just focused on that low to mid ground. Now they haven't completely dropped the high ground. We can see it here from this game last week. It was one of those where it was an opportunity. The door was wide open. Players can, leave the high ground open, particularly at these sort of start of moving zones. And Queasy saw this opportunity with his experience on high ground. It's just a simple height take here, using that building as elevation and then continuing that elevation with their builds. And from here on out, Levin, it's just typical Queasy up on height as we're used to. But again, he's had that experience on low this season. He's been able to apply more strategy to his game around the rest of things and not just have it on high ground. So he can just pull back on the knowledge that he had from high ground before and just use that to his advantage here.
Yeah, so I think the TLDR really is Queasy and Thomas, you're going to see them on low ground a bit more than you used to, but they can still dominate high when necessary. That has not been lost from the Arsenal.
Yeah, they are ones to absolutely watch out for. I have no doubt in my mind whatsoever here. We are so close as well to our action. We're going to dive right in now to Takata and to Jacob to take it away as we begin week 2 in style.
Thank you so much, Adam. Look, we're back in business, Jacob. Chapter 5, Major 1, the second qualifier, the last chance to qualify to those semifinals. A quick refresh on the format. There are 5 matches being played out at the same time, 250 duos, so it's not that one set lobby that we're used to, and it's just non-stop action, Jacob.
Yeah, so when you're looking at today and how you're preparing for moments like this, you don't necessarily have to get first. Of course, if you're low on series points, you might, but you just need to get into that top 50 in terms of series points. Get to the upper bracket side of things and make your life and your FNCS journey that much easier along the way. Once you get towards the semis, that's when placement towards the top side of the leaderboard really counts to keep yourself in the upper bracket.
Keep yourself going. But look, while the players are getting ready for their competition, you know, we talked about it a bit with Lev and Mini. Adam, who would your duo be, Jacob? If you had to pick one player here, who would you want to be duoing with?
I'm the type of guy where I like to electrify. I like to excite. I like to put on an entertaining show. And I feel like there's one player that kind of suits that type of thing for me, and that's going to be Venno. And I feel like if there's anybody going to be able to carry someone like me, it is going to be him. Last week, he was the leader in terms of individual eliminations with 32 whopping eliminations throughout the course of round number 4. So I want to see more of that through him, not only this week, throughout the continued of the FNCS, because I do agree. He's a little quiet. He's a little under the radar, which is surprisingly with the 32 eliminations, but we know what he's capable of, and I just want to see him shine bright.
I like that pick. I like that pick, Venno. You know, if I had to think myself, I don't know. Venno's a good pick, but I think I'd have to go with Thomas HD. I mean, being an IGL myself from when I competed before, I even saw Queasy post on socials the other day. He's like, I forgot that my teammate is the Thomas HD, but you heard it. The bus is ready. The players are warmed up, so let's get right in to the show.
This might just be game 1 of week 2, but this is a continued journey of series points to try to make that semifinals, which eventually leads to the grand finals at the end of the day. And this being the first chance that these teams will have to perform, you really have to set the tone and the pace in this game right here. You cannot go down early, because then you start to have those doubts. You start to get the negative thoughts, and then your game gets a landslide downward from there. So it's all about confidence. That's going to be the key.
Look, confidence is key, but what I do like about this mode, on the contrary, is instead of being a set lobby, if you end up going down right off rip, right off the spawn, you do have to not wait as long as you would in a set lobby. So what I'm basically saying is, you know, there is 5 lobbies going on at the same time. You get elimed off spawn, and then you can go basically right into another match, so you don't kind of have to wait for a good amount of minutes and lose kind of that momentum from the start. But at the same time, it does affect you mentally, right? Mental is key in Fortnite competitive, and making sure you can just refresh those bad games to get right into the next one is crucial to coming out on top. But for a lot of the duos here that we're seeing in this first match, not a lot of contestations, but I might be speaking too soon as we get right into Snooty here, where we do have one of the most popular POIs, and the action is getting started quickly.
Yeah, it looks like Nitrox was able to get that first down, easily clean that one up. There's 3 teams towards Snooty steps for now, or let's just say 2.5. And on the other side, Cade and his duo kind of have that medallion and that mythic hammer pump to themselves if they can finish it quick enough. But the thing is, you don't necessarily know when players are rotating over due to the NPCs, due to the audio visuals. It does get a little confusing, but you have the opportunity with so many teams towards the outskirts biting for their own time. And you see in the minimap, medallion goes down, so that's going to be a quick amount of loot being gathered on that side of the map. And since there's nobody pushing it, they have a lot of flexibility to where they want to continue to loot up or simply rotate to zone.
Flexibility, but also danger. I mean, having that mythic hammer pump shotgun from the Peter Griffin NPC, it just makes it that much more popular. But switching over back, Savage Mongrel, uncontested, nice free. I mean, you can even look bottom right at the minimap. I don't see a single duo close to them. They looted up really quickly. You know they have their loot path planned out, practiced, and maximized in terms of efficiency. So they're going right on to continue their rotations through.
That's the thing, though, about landing where they're at. They do get a lot of comfortability and flexibility, just like Marius and Sanglid here, is they get a good amount of loot on those split POI drops away from the actual medallion. And since players are fighting for fancy fills, they are fighting for snooty steps, they have a lot of time before those teams even rotate in their position. So they have a ton of priority in terms of their next rotate.
All about planning ahead. Taking a look, though, Chris. Hugo, fencing fields, another incredibly popular POI, and it's Merstash, actually, who's going to be the one going down. Game 1, will Malabuka be able to come back? No, gets taken out as well. One of our Titan duos eliminated off the start. Good news, 10 matches, Jacob. We've said it already, to be played out. So hopefully they can get right back into it quickly and not let that affect them.
Yeah, and if you kind of look at their last week performance, they definitely have something they can hang their hat on in terms of not having to worry too much about falling down that series points leaderboard. But one fight to the next, we saw them. It looked like it was smooth sailing for the early game, but Mr. Savage is going to be down, which puts a lot of pressure on the Mongrel shoulders here, especially with another team coming in and a little bit of a mishap. He tries to toss Savage body right at him, say, here, if you want him, you can have him, let me live, but he goes down. But that second team, the third party coming in, Myra and Kingos, they're just trying to take away that loot. And as soon as they found what they wanted in that Flowberry Fizz, they immediately disengage. And with the lobby having a lot of action early on, the first couple of Storm Surges might not be as prevalent as they were last week.
Might not be, especially in this first game. I mean, it was looking so bright for Mr. Savage Mongrel, but the shadows creeped in. I don't know what went wrong. Merstash, Malabuka, Savage Mongrel, a lot of Titan duos going down here quickly. For Cherry and Giraz, though, once again, with 3 eliminations actually to their name so early on. This could be huge for them. Already good on materials, good on loot. All they have to do, really, is play semi-passively here, if it's what they're looking to do. Edge of the map, on congested side. They basically have it set in stone.
And so many options. They have that yacht towards their south where they can launch pad, and a high mountainless static launch pad towards their north. So I feel like they're not necessarily going to be in a rush to rotate, but a team that might be in a little bit of a hurry is Nathan and CZB. You see them all the way on the eastern edge where the zone is pulling towards the west. This is towards Grand Glacier. Again, there is some static launch pads to help with mobility, but as every other team beats you to the punch, getting to the actual EVS zone is where they're going to find difficulty.
Looking back over. Bit more action here. Diox is the one being the aggressor, taking some shots at the wall, but nothing too serious yet. You said it yourself. First match with all the fights that have broken out. Surge might not be too much of a priority, but I'm thinking it could be. Diox, though, making use of that Peter Griffin mythic pump. You know he can hit hard if he's able to connect that initial shot. And it looks like they might just want to take a full-on engagement here almost. They're just looking for that option, that opportunity, that opening. But their opponents have so many builds around them. They're playing so passive. Without that initial advantage, it might just not be worth it.
The thought process, I like the thought process out of that. They were trying to be very, very calculated in their play, but Zara and Radion's just trying to bull rush into a 2v1. Maze is just trying to get out all by himself momentarily, trying to alleviate the pressure for Driz. Finally getting to the box. That Thunder Burst SMG is just dealing so much damage in the blink of an eye, even going right through the builds. And I think Meza has done enough to alleviate some of that pressure. Now both teams have one person that's weak, needing a heal. Zara's trying to keep the pressure up and not let anything go on over for free. Medkit's already going to be popped. Piece control going over. Zara's just trying to minimize the opportunity that they're giving on over to the teammates, but it's just not happening quick enough. Everybody here is going to be able to heal up, and since they're center zone, they have so much time to do what they want to do here.
Damage has been dealt, but they're not done yet. Radion now getting closer and closer. He gets cracked. The aggression comes through. Will the knock as well? Not yet, as it looks like. Oh, he did get knocked. Actually, 2v1 now. Player advantage for Meza and Driz. 6 floppers as well to their name. Question is, do they continue the aggression now? Do they chase Zara? Or do they heal up and play it slow, happy that they came out on top in the engagement?
Yeah, I feel like for them right now, It does look like they're deciding to take it slow, take it steady, one fight at a time, one foot in front of the next. After they finish that one, they're going to go and let Zara go ahead and escape. And you see not too far away is another team in the distance. So you have to be very, very careful and pick wisely where you're going to rotate to, because everything can come crashing down in a moment's notice. As we jump on board Vanyak and Sined, they built themselves a huge monument in the sky. A lot of safety with those cones. They're just trying to go for Surge. But the interesting thing is he has that Thunderburst SMG, so Surge is going to be something that is going to be the most easiest thing for this duo to get from their current position.
Looks like a piece of art in the sky right now. Reminded me of the old OG Fortnite days. Got those castles built up. Meanwhile, Blacha, Yapko in a bush. You know, Blaha getting ready. But it looks like there are no opponents close by. Once again, just looking for those options, looking for those opportunities, staying elevated, most importantly, to have the most vision possible on their surroundings for those opponents rotating through, as they've should have finished up looting by now and started their rotations. But with 0 eliminations, they're looking pretty hungry to find a bit of tags.
Yeah, and the interesting thing is, I feel like not everybody is really concerned with Surge right now because of how active the lobby is. Only 66 players alive, 35 teams. But there's going to come a point in time, if it's not necessarily a focal point, Storm Surge will turn on. And if you haven't made it a part of your plan, even though it hasn't been a focus here, that's going to put you in an interesting situation because you might not necessarily have prepared for it. So a lot of these teams that are kind of in the slower side, in the outskirts, middle zone by themselves without much Surge to their name, those are the ones that are going to have to fight for it and make those risky plays later on. But for Raxi and Darm, they're just kind of smooth sailing, getting to zone. They started on the far east, so they've had a journey just to get up into this point. And as soon as they get into zone, I think that's where they're going to start to gather information, figure out where every player is positioned at, and then kind of go from there.
Lazen making use of that Flowberry crash pad rotation. I love that rotation. Looks so fun. As now, actually, the aggression as well looks like it's going to come through. If they've cracked an opponent, be careful though. A lot of duos in the surrounding area. Have to be cautious here as danger levels are high. If you want these eliminations, you got to be quick with it. There is that cash. There is that extra loot. Atrax doesn't want to give it up so easily, but with the pressure, with the danger, the surrounding duos, they've decided we're going to have to give it up.
Yeah, and there's going to be a couple of caches littered around this outskirts with a lot of teams kind of rotate in. Lazen and Junior, they're going to be able to kind of push a couple teams away. You see Gweed and Nano sneaking by, and I feel like he knows somebody's there. He just may not know exactly where they're positioned, but I think he might have saw a little bit of the leg, maybe the hip sticking out. So that's crucial information when he needs it most. But sorry, you see him getting chased around the map by Meza and Driz. For them, they think this is not only crucial Surge, but points for their total. Depending on where they're at in the leaderboard, they want to have a big first game and start to build that confidence. But Zara, if he's able to get out alive, you can see he has the Mythic Frenzy Auto Shotgun. You got to imagine he has the medallion as well. His shields are being healed. Driz just oversteps by himself. Meza goes in to save the day, and that's going to be a huge success and a huge sigh of relief.
That was a continuation of that engagement we saw earlier on. Was Zara lost his duo partner, but now came back. But for how long? Didn't make it too far. Raxi, Darm, edge of zone, rotating in. There is a duo holding them. Train coming through. Are you jumping on that train, Jacob? I'm not personally, but
two peas in a pod. We're thinking the same. I'm jumping on the train because my thought process is right. It's not necessarily a smart move, admittedly so, especially this late in the game. It's not a smart move. But who's going to expect someone to be on the train if it's not a smart move? So I think that's why I'm going to risk it, and that's probably why I'm going down as soon as the train gets in zone.
Look, thinking ahead. 5-head plays there. Giga Brain, I like it. Cade now. Diox once again. You know they love action. No elims for their name yet, but with the aggression we're seeing, I wouldn't be surprised if they get some shortly. You can look how compact, though, their current location is in terms of players. Everybody close together. It's third-party heaven right now, as now he continues looking around, finding those openings, but I don't know if it's the play to play aggressive here, especially not being in zone already.
Yeah, almost a quarter of the lobby left alive is on that side of the map. I counted about 7 teams, 14 individual players just stacked on one side. That's going to make the rotation tough if you don't have any mobility in terms of the grapple blade or the Flowberry Fizz, Flowberry combination with, you know, a number of things, including the crash pad that we've already seen today alone. Sky Jump, hopefully he has his duos card. You see him going towards the backside of the zone. Hopefully trying to get him back, but only time will tell. It's either that or going to the slow side of the zone to where he's hoping the least amount of teams will be at, which will kind of give him an easier road as a solo.
It's difficult. Let's see how he ended up as a solo, though. Lost his duo partner here quickly. Went in for the engagement, though, and was able to clean it up, but even if you clean it up, losing a teammate, it doesn't make it worth it. Having to clutch it before even being in moving zones. So many placement points to be earned along the way as Yapko and Blaha continue with their little bush strategies. They're actually split between 2 different bushes here around the train tracks, continuing to hunt for opportunities. They do have that Reaper sniper rifle in hand. Incredibly dangerous for the opponents in the surrounding area, but so far nothing.
I was kind of hoping they bought a ticket to go ride the train, but it's going their opposite direction towards the outside of the zone. You can see a couple teams going to meet that one. H3OJ and Sean just trying to hold people back towards the outside of the zone, but they're not in the zone themselves. Sean actually goes down. That puts his teammate in such a tough spot. That's down on Guide, who is just slowly but surely third-partying and just hiding behind so many other teams. Instead of going for the simple elimination, they're just trying to get ahead and go to zone. He does not have HP to regain at this point in time, but ahead of him is both Cade and Diox. You know what loot they have on them, so this is going to be hard for Guide to survive. You see the pressure coming in from multiple different angles, including other teams as well that want to try to steal away this elimination. A lot of builds are being expended for Guide, so even if he finds a way to survive this, I'm not sure what he'll have left on him. And they even changed targets to go after Nano, who might go down to the zone here if he just takes a little bit too long, because he's getting pushed further and further into that direction.
H30 though, straight on in, knocking Nano. Meanwhile, you have the starving duo of Diox and Cade right below. They're hungry for those eliminations. You know they want it, as now they continue their aggression, pushing through. All it takes is one big shot. The players from afar taking those shots, and there it is. Cade finishing up the engagement. 3 eliminations now from 0 to 3 real quick. But they have just 10 seconds until Storm starts closing. Long distance to go. Hopefully they have those grapple blades to assist with the rotate. But meanwhile, we move back to another duo. Now, Cherry Giraz inside of, once again, a bush.
Yeah, just seeing a few seconds of that mini-map there. You see the zone is pulling all the way towards the northwest. So a lot of these teams that are already positioned here, they've done a good job to secure their spot. For a lot of those teams that are still on the southeastern side of the zone, it might get tougher and tougher to rotate on over if the zone continues in this trend. Got to be able to plan for that in the future. You got Darky and Darkest just trying to spread themselves out. They become a focus of multiple teams here in the lobby. Thankfully, they've done enough to slow it down, because if the lobby would have kept going, that would have forced them to expend a ton of mats and resources in their current position, to where that's not what you want to happen. And if you look at the bottom right hand of your screen right now, Takata, there are so many teams rotating in this direction. This is so stacked compared to what we saw literally moments ago watching the northwest side of the zone.
Look, in the first qualifier last week, it was cold, it was chilly up in the hills around the snowy area, but now, on the contrary, in the forest, I'm liking this environment. It's different, it's refreshing, and we'll have to see how the players make use of it. A lot more bushes here, a lot more opportunities to be a bit sneaky, so you do have to be careful as you're rotating through. And with players like CZB, 23 bullets, with a Reaper sniper in hand, you have to be careful when you're rotating.
Yeah, especially this one. I thought the last one was worse for a lot of those South teams. Now it's just going to get worse for everybody else, to where this side of the zone wasn't necessarily congested as it once was, but as everybody has to go on over, they're going to find their spot here. And as soon as zone begins to open up, you can see it's a 50-50 for now. That will give a lot of space for teams to try to go where nobody currently is positioned, but it does come at a risk, especially if you're currently positioned in a great spot. So for now, it's going to be a little bit of that waiting game until Storm Surge starts to force a lot of that action. You see, finally it turns on. I ask, I get. Vaniac and Sined are going to be 45 above the damage threshold, which, Sakata, you know as well as I do. It's something, but it's not enough to where now they're worried about it, and that's why you see them looking around.
Not close to enough, as they have to be careful, though. With sniper rifles being so dominant, especially in these situations where you just want a few tags for Surge, you could just open up that peak, and it could be the end if you end up getting headshot sniped. As now, we look at the shots come through, players now hunting, getting a bit scared. They know what has to be done. You can see the west, even southwest side of the zone, full of duos right now, playing purposely here. Possibly in the congested side to get that damage done, but be careful. Grapple Blade opening up opportunities for the opponents to take shots. Luckily enough, they've made it in. Duo already has a base. Gonna have a bit of time to recuperate all that shield and HP that was lost.
Yeah, I'd say it looked like a little bit of a blessing and a curse there. They took a lot of damage, like you said, but at least they got themselves back-to-back spots in zone to where they can take this moment to figure out what their next game plan and strategy is going to be in terms of holding onto your spot. But if you look at, there's so many more teams, probably more than half the lobby, having to rotate towards the eastern edge to find themselves a spot. Sanity and Zardo, they're going to be kind of late rotating behind a lot of these teams, but instead of going straight towards the right, they're just trying to white line it in and go directly to where not a lot of teams are currently at, but they're beating them to the punch. The longer you take, the harder it's going to be.
It's going to be an incredibly difficult rotate no matter what. You can see how many duos are already based up alongside the borderline of this 7th zone here, meaning all these duos that have to rotate a bit late now have that danger of not only the duos in Storm shooting back at them, but also their competitors around them rotating in at the same time. You can see Zardo even looking around to see how the opportunities, the options are looking, but making good use of the environment here, using the hills, the trees to block the line of sight from their opponents that are already based up, and it might have just given them a very free rotate.
Yeah, they're even looping around to try to take the top of that left-hand side. So the biggest worry when they get there is going to be Storm Surge and how they're going to get the damage needed. Vaniac and Sined, 41 above, still having a little bit of comfortability, but not too much as he looks on into the distance. Peeks a couple shots through. That's going to help his total, but he gets aggressed on from the bottom, and that's why you think the awareness from this duo is at an all-time high. They quickly react to a possible bull rush from that player, and now they're trying to go on the offensive. They don't want to look weak, and you see them going ahead and stretching themselves out, putting pressure out, and I think they're doing a good job because now they're even adding to their Storm Surge total.
Zone now popped up north. All these duos now planning the rotation. Meanwhile, it looks like the ones that were already there early, the ones that rotated in late, have a lot of trouble getting focused by the lobby, as Sined and Vaniac are on the calmer side here, being the aggressors, taking those shots. As this is an interesting zone. Bridge,
yeah,
causes that huge change in elevation. If the zone pulls back south, even southeast after, we could have some interesting rotates, but it's going to be Blaha and Yapko. We're going to get ahead early here. Box themselves in. They have to be careful, though.
This is just one of those zones where if you're not prepared properly for the drastic pulls, no matter which direction it goes, towards the east, open water, towards the north, different elevations plus water, then the south in which you were talking about combined with the west, the different elevations again. So refreshes are going to be so impactful here once we get a little bit later on in this game. But Blaha and Yapko, they're just kind of smooth sailing. You saw them go from bush to the position where they're in now. They don't want to take too many fights. Storm Surge isn't a worry. It's about making it to the zone. Eliminations will naturally present themselves as long as they keep themselves alive.
Running low on ammunition as well. 55 medium shots. You got to be careful here, knowing when to conserve, especially if you need that damage done. Yeah. 3 elims to their name so far. So they should be looking a bit better. We saw them just on the borderline as this zone was starting off. As Vanyak now might be making some calls as they continue to look up. This zone
Yeah.
is insane. They have to cross all the water onto an island, remote island zone right now. This is going to be interesting.
They're either going to expend a lot of builds, or hopefully they brought their water wings along the way to swim across the waters. You even see the medallions getting passed behind on that low ground. Sined looking towards the backside, try to see if anybody's staggering with those med kits. A good amount of damage being dished out, and needed damage at that. They're 67 below the damage threshold. Myra gets taken down along the way. That's a good amount of damage, but still not enough to push them over. Lays and locks towards the low ground. They're below the damage threshold as well and continuously falling, but this is a good position to go ahead and pop those shots on players that are going towards the front side of the zone, and they did just enough to get above the threshold.
Just above by 4. 39 players still up, 22 duos. Looks like Vanyak and his duo still holding the clouds. Meanwhile, Darky with 3 elims, but for how long? Is it Sined now? Still maintaining up above, taking those shots as he's being contested. This could be a huge zone to maintain, as most likely it goes north again, pulling even further, causing the use of even more materials now for these duos rotating down below. Cherry, Giraz, 4 total elims. Nathan going in for that aggression, full stacked up on materials though.
Yeah.
They have options.
They have 2 eliminations so far, only 118 above the damage threshold, but shots like that is going to give them even more damage to count on. Finding another elimination onto Locks, picking up the Siphon. That's a huge amount of materials that they're able to get from that refresh and keeping themselves alive, but CZB goes down along the way. The aggression for Blaha and Yapko's there. They're able to get it down onto Clarky, but there's so much chaos going around. A couple of missed edits. They're able to break through, but it came at a cost. 40 damage done to Yapko due to the storm.
Dropping down lower. Chaos fueling this duo as now the zone pulls east. Remote island engagements coming through. Cherry, Giraz, 4 elims on the board, 41 builds to work with. Flowberry is popped. Enhanced mobility comes through. Boxed up close to opponents. They have to be careful here. Meanwhile, Darky inside of a box, continuing his rotate along the edge of Storm, maintaining safety while conserving materials.
Yeah, teamwork making the dream work. You saw Darkus in a tough spot. Darky there to go ahead and chop down that build and give him a little bit of safety. Traveling towards the right. They're going to try to get ahead of everybody else. Raxian and Darm, they're trying to go through the lobby. Take it by force. That's going to be the key here. And as soon as they do, they switch layers. They're trying to continuously look back on some of these teams and keep their mat count high. And I think with 600 builds, they got to be some of the most healthiest in the lobby. A turn and burn from Yapko, able to take down Driz. And those refresh mats, that saves his life there and keeps him going forward.
Let's talk about healthiest. Yapko looking like one of the unhealthiest in terms of materials. Only 4 builds to work with. Giraz now as well at 6 alongside Cherry. They have to find something, and they look for it here. Drop down. Engagement comes through. They knock 1. Get a refresh of materials here. 240 wood now to work with. Kantar on ahead. Stay ahead of their opponents. Sined and Vanyak maintain the height throughout this whole endgame. As Blaha now looks like he's going to go down to Storm, but he did secure a quick elim.
Yeah, the final zone is really forcing a lot of people into interesting positions, and because of how drastic these pulls were, a lot of the mats have been expended from everybody left in the lobby. Chari's going to find the med kit and an elimination onto Prime as continues to look back, and back to back. Chari takes down Darkus as well. That whole duo is gone, but he goes a little bit ahead of himself. Raxi's going to be able to take him down. Top 3 situation. Sined and Vanyak finally drop down. Here is trying to heal off to the backside of zone. Vanyak does not want to let it go through. With a few seconds left, lands 1 shot, stops the med kit, which gives a huge advantage on over to Sined, who has 4 med kits to use. He drops, gets a little bit closer just in case push comes to shove. A 1v1 situation for heal off. Sined, 4 med kits left, make it 3 as 1 goes out. He's trying to go in for the final elimination, secures it with ease, even with 3 med kits left.
Vanyak, Sined coming out on top in their first match with confidence. Had 3 medkits in the inventory, but Sined said, no, I don't want to use these medkits. I want an extra elimination. Dropped straight down, played for that aggression, secured the elimination alongside that victory.
Yeah, and the way they were just able to hold high ground from 8th zone onward, it seemed like they had no problems because of these zones going up and down elevations through waters. Nobody was really able to look up and challenge them, and from from there, they had it in the books. 5 different med kits, didn't even need them all. Sinet and Vanyak win game 1, but with so much action left to unfold, Adam, Mini, Levin, let's break down that game.
Yeah, let's break it all down. There's Sinet and Vanyak there with the opening victory royale of the day here. I believe seven eliminations as well here, which is great. Was tallying up scores already there, but preparing Mini superbly there. Med kits finishing off, but height. I mean, just having the height, capitalized on that and get the first victory. Amazing.
Yeah, we saw them playing height last week in one of their games, and they just kept getting chopped down every single time. Me and Levin spoke about it here on the desk, and we were like, they need to improve that. They need to develop that. They need to look at that and think, right, we don't want to let that happen again. And as it happens here, Levin, they've not let it happen again. They built up onto height. They were playing very high layers for a moment there as well. So I think they've learned from their mistakes, but without too much pressure, you could say.
Yeah, I think when you look at that game, this is clearly a team that has been on a roll this season. They are on form. Week after week, we watch them play and we go, okay, maybe these guys are a serious contender, and I think they're starting out the day with a bang. I love the way this game ended, right? Vanyak got knocked. He said, look, the guy is here. If you want to find him, well, I know you got your free med kits, but if you want to find him and end the game, he's right there. And I think the big thing here is if they can continue this confidence, if they can continue this run of form, they're going to be definitely in the upper bracket, but in great form going into grand finals.
Yeah, absolutely right there. Let's see if they can continue it. Yapko and Blaha as well here. We saw that the boys, Jacob and Takata, featuring talk about those guys a lot during the cast in the last game. I mean, Levin as well, another team which we talked about so much in the past here, already starting to kind of make moves, get points, which we know early doors is so pivotal in this competition.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think there's 2 players there that are very underrated in the scene in terms of just, you're looking at that next level underneath the most elite of the elite players. And Yapko, again, a player that's had big results. He's won one of the biggest lands of the year last year at a game as 8 with Kami. Blaha, one of the best up-and-coming players, a player that sort of last year showed everyone, look, I'm not up-and-coming anymore. I am an elite player in this region. Respect me. And no surprises that the 2 of them together are performing well. I think the big thing is in situations like this, in the chaos of the endgame, in the final moments, you might not associate these guys with being big fraggers, but they have that ability to hit the key shots. They have that clutch gene. Maybe it's a thing with the Polish. I don't know what it is, but they all seem to have that ice cold moment hidden in them.
It seems like that's what they do best. I just don't know what it is. They're just always so calm, particularly with their experience, right? We talk so much about this duo, and particularly Blatcher himself. Just being an up-and-coming player, as you mentioned there, Levin, someone that is just on the come-up, but now it's time, It's time to actually perform at the top of the level of Fortnite, and we're seeing it right here. This is a duo that I'm particularly excited about this season. I'm excited to see how they develop going into the grand finals. Of course, both Polish, both know each other very well, both at the top of their game at the moment. As we saw in that end game, they know what they can do when it comes down to those sort of mid-ground, low-ground frags. I think that's really key to show us a successful duo. If you can perform in those areas and not worry too much about how the other person's doing, just have to trust in your teammate that they're going to be okay, they're going to be able to get back together with you. That's going to be crucial. And I think a lot of those moments right there in that endgame definitely answered a few of my questions about this duo, about whether they can stack up to the best in these sort of high situation or high pressure situations in those mid-ground layers.
Absolutely right. Yeah, and as a half Polish person that I am, I can totally say I am ruthless. I am ice cold. I have it in my veins. 100% confirmed. It's a thing. Right, we got loads more action. As we said, every single week, every single kind of session we see here on FNCS is just fast. It doesn't stop. The action is hot, and we're going to dive back into it here. We're going to join a lobby right now. Noah Riley is in there, and many more players desperate for those points as well. We rejoin Takata and Jacob. Let's get stuck back in, lads. Here we go.
Games. We want games, and that's exactly what we're going to give you. And we're going to jump on board, just like Adam said, Noah Riley and Aqua. This is going to be a good chance for them to kind of make up for last week. Wasn't necessarily the best showing that we know both of these players are capable of. And as we tune in, they're just traveling through fencing fields. Neither of them seem to have the medallion, so they're just trying to make this rotation on over. Last game, we did have a Western zone, and this time, it looks like we're going across the way to the east side of the map.
Look, the performance in Qualifier 1 is just going to give them that motivation that they need, Jacob, to make something happen here. In the second Qualifier, other big name in the lobby, Snazy Podasai, in a calm situation, not being contested here. Actually, they were contested. 2 elims already picked up. They just cleaned it up like breakfast. This is now Griffin. looking to get a quick piece of that pie, and with that quick knock, now 2 versus 1. The advantage has been given to this duo, and the aggression continues.
Yeah, you see they're just trying to go into the box, get the piece control, almost box up their opponent as well. They don't want to let this one go for free, especially the later this one goes, getting chased or doing the chasing. Either one will make you a focus in the lobby, especially the higher and higher that they are building. And you can see them almost second guessing the decision to continue to move up. But the shots are also coming in from multiple different angles. Monkey is still chasing him all around, just trying to get the elimination to go easy. And they finally sandwich him from 2 different sides, take him out, and kind of give themselves more time to work with, because those third parties were definitely getting annoying.
2 pieces picked up quickly off the early here. Hellfire Zandy looking for an option here. No Reaper sniper rifle in hand, but it looks like they got a little scared there as their opponents opened up an edit, peeked them. They felt that shot coming through. Luckily enough, they did block it in time, but now the position has been revealed as they have to decide where to next. Looks like right back towards the zone. Their opponents did have sniper rifles, so they do have to be cautious.
Yeah.
As Shamoki and Wheat now don't have to be as cautious.
You can see a lot of teams waiting for just this Rift Island to appear. You see where it's currently located at, and typically in the next couple zones, the zone will pull away from Rift Island. So if you're not going for it, you should probably make that plan B. To jump into another fight, Yarko going ahead. His teammate's going to get knocked down to 1 HP and a dream, but that's not going to slow him down. He's still on the offensive, even with less than 100 total shield and HP. Finally, some HP is going to be green. Medallion is kicking off as well. Excuse me, that's a Flowberry Fizz to try to get the shield up, and at the perfect time as well. The third party comes in, fourth party in the distance as well. This one is going to become chaotic for all these teams. You got to imagine where they're positioned at in the leaderboard. This has to be a must as Guden goes down. Yarko's still on the chase as he breaks through yet another wall to reunite with his teammate.
Looking back over at Tommy now, chasing once again a Solo, who's trying to get out of the situation. Grapple Blade making good use here, as all it's going to take now is one shot. Even one bullet could be enough. Teammate gets it. Julie now, 1 elim. And they're clear.
Yeah, that's big for them because they were able to just third party steal away the elim, push the other teams out. So any loot that was left over is now going to go to them. And this is how Yarko was able to get that first elimination. Distracted by the third party, forgets about the flank. A well-placed shot's going to take him down. Rift Island is going to go to Zandy and Hellfire. No points this season for your efforts, but look at all that gold loot and all those heals they just got.
Oof. That's more than enough for me if I'm in this lobby. But there are some Titans up above who seem to want a little piece of that. Noah Rayleigh, Aqua, looking down from above. But Hellfire Zandy now. Just kind of looking through. What have we got here? What have we secured? Let me upgrade some of my weapons. Let me heal up. As there's so many duos around them, they might want to just wait a little bit before making any spontaneous decisions.
Yeah. And especially since there's a lot of brick that they can refarm towards the bottom. They can even hold their position, go to the side, take over the launch pad that's there as well. But the thing here that's huge for them is they have time, they have flexibility to kind of make this decision. They're not going to be in a rush. Rift Island still fully inside of that zone, and with not too many teams contesting it, let alone fighting it towards the top, they do feel safe for now, just like Shamoki and Wheat. Not too far off from that current position over towards the railways. And for them, they're separated enough from a lot of these other teams, but still close enough as well. So if Storm Surge becomes a problem, it's not going to be too hard for them to deal with it.
Not at all. Especially with all these duos, you can see playing pretty passively so far. These aren't the situations in which you want to get very aggressive.
Yeah.
When you're getting so close to the later half of the mid game, starting the end game. Skrill here alongside Rabbit, trying to box close to those rifts, giving them that option for the natural mobility, but there even is an engagement close to them happening, taking advantage of it now, while eyes are not on them to continue that rotate through. Be careful though, you do have some opponents close by. Is it the rift that you want? As it's already been taken now. Crow robbing that rift. Skrill now has to decide, do we get in it or do we just box up and wait? Not in the zone yet. Still quite a ways to go. But they're going to take a breather here.
To me, it's a little bit of an interesting decision for them not to take the rift, but at the same time, they do have mobility. There's probably other rifts nearby as well, as you see it towards the top of that mountain, right near a bush as well. Definitely giving themselves plenty of options to work with before they make themselves a direction towards the zone. Reckless Railways, where a lot of teams are already positioned at, including Craig and Stormy. Towards the center, not too many teams around them to contest. My only real worry for Craig is that Enforcer. Does he have any modifications to it? It does pack a punch, and it can get you some storage surge in the distance, but only really if it has those attachments in my eyes.
Sean now, 30 HP, cracked. Has to be careful here. One shot and he's knocked. Duo partner, though, takes the hit. They've knocked one. Zone has started to close in, though. Caution levels continue rising as Dre with one Elim escapes, but how long will he be able to last?
Yeah. H2OJ and Sean, it's very important for them to have a decent game here, figure out a way to come back, because we saw them go down in game one a little bit earlier than they would have hoped. As Dre just has no choice but to leave Ricky behind. He's not going to really have an opportunity to go back for the reboot card. So from this point forward, Dre will be a solo, which gives a different amount of flexibility when you are playing as a solo. Noka's able to get another elimination backside of zone. Very, very important that he's able to grab those med kits as well. The thing about him, Takada, is he has a far pull when it comes to zone, so good luck to him.
Look, far pull, but he's got full materials. True. 1,500 builds, spare mats even to work with. We can see how they ended up securing these eliminations here. He was even put, it looks like, in a 1 versus 2 scenario, as he did a quick 58, knocking one opponent, and the other one with the third parties coming through as well. Went down shortly after for a Tommy and Julie. They're looking incredibly healthy. Legendary epic loadout, 3 medkits, 3 bigs, mobility with the grapple blade, and already enough eliminations to not be too worried about how much damage they need to do, as they have quite a free rotate for the time being, but all free rotates come to an end as the shots come through. Podesai left alone, lost Snazy along the way.
I became a huge fan of Podesai and Snazy at the Global Championship, and it was because of the support that they had. Every time these guys were on screen, you had your French fans just going absolutely crazy in the crowd, just giving them all the energy. And I feel like when you're hearing that type of thing come from the crowd, it just makes you play with a whole nother level of confidence. But without a teammate this time around, Podesai just picking and choosing his shots wisely. And that surge is very, very important, especially as a solo. So that way you're not forced to try to push into a box. And as a solo, that's not going to be the easiest thing in the world.
Ooh, be careful here, though. No, Rayleigh now not in zone yet. Duo partner has been almost left behind a little bit. He'll make it back, though. Does have opponents close by. You can see boxed up beside each other. Good news, as the duos that were already in zone, well, I was going to say haven't started to take shots yet, but I might have spoke too soon, as now the pressure comes through. They are able to group up, though, now, as one player can build while the other one heals up. But as time continues and the clock keeps ticking, their mat count as well keeps getting lower and lower.
It's really going to be tough for a lot of these players that are taking these fights on the outskirts of the zone, because another max pull right before our very eyes. This time it's going to be for Noah and Aqua, as right now this looks like they're just trying to get into a box. Didn't like what they see and immediately disengage. It's the quick decision making that I like about this team. Even it may not necessarily be the best decision, they're on the same page, so they make something out of nothing in the blink of an eye. See the new rotates coming out, and they immediately start to close that distance. Even sneak up on a whole nother team along the way, jumping over builds, trying to get in the box. Noah pauses for a quick second here before continuing his journey forward and reuniting with Aqua.
Looks like they want to set up another rotate here. This isn't the situation in which you want to take these engagements. You want to just focus on getting to zone, and then you can get that damage. And they even have enough damage already. 357, Flowberry, crash pad rotate comes through. The second one, as now They're at the edge of zone, boxed up, but for Hellfire, he's lost Ziandi. So much damage to this duo, but playing as a solo makes it that much more difficult. Flowbray Fizz gonna be popped here. Give him that boost in momentum alongside the crash pad. It's giving him more height though than distance. Still a bit of a ways to go, but this could be what he needed, a quick knock. Gonna pick up the refresh. Couple materials, but it's not enough. All these duos applying pressure from the zone is gonna take out Hellfire.
I just saw like 3 to 4 windows open up in these boxes, and all of them targeted. Even for the ones that didn't get the elimination, that's one more player, one more team out of the way. Placement points have just begun to set in. Only 2 points being awarded so far. And if you look at in EU, our top 10 teams on that leaderboard, there's only one team with less than a 75% placement point percentage for their overall points. And that is Merstash and Malibu, who are currently positioned 7th on those leaderboards from last week. So it's very, very important for a lot of these teams to realize eliminations are not everything. A majority of your points will come from placement unless those opportunities present themselves to grab eliminations naturally.
For a player like Shimoki, looking for those opportunities as he knows there is a player that has not began the rotate yet. With the grapple blade coming through, that opportunity's lost as now Flowberry Fizz comes through, giving them that boost in mobility, and now they're gonna combine it with their rotation here. But you gotta be careful. So many duos now looking for that damage, looking for those shots as Storm Surge. They can see what they are left with, what they need. And Shimoki's gotten a nice clean rotate, but his duo partner not as clean as he's been cracked. No shields now to work with as he has to spend the time to heal on back up before regrouping with Shimoki, as now he's going to look to try and cover him as Rote takes back true. And there it is. They're together splitting up the medallion to recuperate the shield that was lost, conserving their minis and bigs. So far, so good.
Yep. Yeah, I like the way he's just peeking through the cone, getting information. Skrill and Ravid just got to go for the pre-piece. They get at least one knock onto a player. The other one is almost going down himself, but Skrill almost biting off more than he could chew. Thankfully, Ravid was there to kind of alleviate some of that pressure. Now it's all about getting that HP back. Medkit's going to be found from the high ground to the low ground. Noah and Aqua find themselves another elimination. 400 above the damage threshold. Another team trying to get into the box and put pressure and take this team out. And Noah and Aqua, Takata, they need a massive day. They scored 0 points in week 1. So if they want to keep their FNCS journey alive, it all comes down to this week number 2 and how they finish.
It's looking intimidating as well here, as they almost don't have materials already in this moving zone. They've been in non-stop action since they've made it in. Playing on the edge, they're going to need something big. But for Shizo here and his duo up above, 1,000 on top of the Storm Surge threshold. Noah Rayleigh too has been taken out. Aqua now, it's all up to him. Big Pot isn't gonna heal your HP. Duo goes down. Shimoki Wheat now continuing.
Yeah, he tried to pop the flopper, but just the wrong item slot. Shimoki and Wheat, they don't have to worry about that. They have 3 medkits. Podesai doing a great job as a solo so far, but only 10 points being awarded for placement with only 5 teams going down. Still more work to go for Podesai as he peeks through, getting ready for the Fizz rotation, trying to save as many of those builds as possible. And you see him peek it through every single angle, the information, the calculated play that he's about to make. As Skrill goes down, separated just a little too far from Rabbit, who's also under pressure, forced to back up. That Splash, that Shizo, that was the team that was on high ground, and they continue to push every team further and further below him.
Rabbit from domination with 6 eliminations to now left alone as a solo. Pressure being applied by the surrounding area as well. Materials running low. No more builds to work with. 1 flopper in the inventory. Will he choose to play it slow here as he continues to find an angle, find that option? Does he know that there's a player down below? Goes for the duo. Cracks 1. Is it going to be enough to get him through? As now he's just put into this incredibly difficult situation as he continues to look for options.
No real layer to protect himself. His zone pulls back. He finally finds a crevice that he can hold on to. Even gets the edit in. His last remaining piece is under his control, and the zone's going to push him away from it. So it's about what he does next. Quick side jump. Chooses not to go ahead and take that fight. I think that's going to be a smart play. He's just recycling every single piece of material that he can to go ahead and move himself in towards zone. And even turns and finds Purges down low towards the low ground. And that med kit, the med kit was the huge find. That's going to allow him to stay alive and stagger himself even longer. over.
Hopefully can find that rotate to the edge with the grapple blade to make zone in time, but Podesai as well. No med kits, but he has the grapple blade. Rapid made it in with just 2 HP to work with. Has he done it? He is still cooking as Adam now close by, 1 shot away from getting eliminated. There it is, it's 27 white, gets knocked, but Wheat on the other side, hungry as well. Rapid still breaking through builds, 5 Elins now, but no more medkits.
Yeah, you can see him taking his time, trying to peek through every time he whacks one of those builds, but now player's gonna be spotted in front of him, lands the first shot that puts him on the back foot, and now he's being indecisive if he's gonna push through or not, and finds the knock. He can't really pick it up. There's no HP to gain. He gets the elimination, gets the points, but doesn't get the siphon. And another one almost gonna be grabbed, but a turn and burn, he goes down. Now it's Wheat's chance for the backside of the zone. Gets the first knock, medkit to stagger himself and give himself more time in the side of the top 10.
Rapid's momentum getting continued by Wheat. Griffin up above as Monk King now dropping below, looking for those frags. Already got one, but he's hungry for more. Builds come through. You have to be cautious here. Try and support his duo up top. Wheat has been destroying the low ground here. 3 Elins, but just with 16 HP. Monk King with 38. It's 1 shot from either player here. It's all it's gonna take, and it's gonna be Wheat connecting that shot.
Again. That is huge. Like you said, connecting the shot. No heal off opportunity for Griffin because Monk King shuts it down himself.
That game played out by Monk. Griffin up top was gonna go for the heal off while his duo partner Monk King went down, but Monkin played it so well. You said it yourself, Jacob. He didn't even have to play the heal off. He just fragged out everybody, and the game concluded with that. Griffin up above, securing the VR.
Yeah, and back-to-back zones. These end games have been a roller coaster of emotions, up mountains, down mountains, across rivers, to where if you're not prepared, you could be having a good game and everything come crashing down in the blink of an eye. And that's how they were able to hold high ground for as long as they did. And as soon as Monk King knew he was low on resources, he dropped down to end it himself.
You can see Crow there too. Was lasting an incredibly long time with that heal off, even secured almost a top 3, I believe, 2nd place it could be. And just like that, the match was concluded. But what I want to see now are those 3 beautiful faces, Adam, Minnie, Levin. Let us know what happened.
Oh, I mean, we're right back at you guys, the beautiful faces thing. My goodness, come on, you two. I mean, Monk King there and Griffin, fantastic win. A duo who played out that kind of like the end game there. Pretty spectacular, Levin. I mean, you know, communication obviously a huge part there, knowing full well that they should pounce and they should capitalize when the opportunity arose and get a victory royale. Only the 2nd game we featured today on the show. That's a great start. A point will make a huge difference.
Yeah, not a case of a medkit v medkit situation, right? You know, they wrap things up pretty quickly there. And all well and good because they didn't really have much medkits, but yeah, it was a different game in terms of the pacing. I'll be real. I think there was so much going on down below them that for a moment you almost forget there's a team on height, and I think they sort of just allowed the game really to pass them by in the final moments, and it was like, yeah, we'll pick up all the rest of the players in this lobby. But ultimately, man, I think, yeah, they played it just how you'd expect them to.
Yeah, I mean, look at that final moment right there. I think Fortnite going to use that in the trailer. Flying above, victory royale, crown in head, and of course that train underneath. That was a beautiful moment for them. But I mean, what that was, a lot of players actually using the medkits early. That's what happened there. We saw lots of players decide to go for that heal off in a really early stage of that end game, which we don't often see. I think a lot of players will try and use those medkits out, but I think looking at that lobby, looking at the experience in that lobby, I think a lot of those players would be happy with high placements, right? They're not going to be playing for those victory royales in that moment. They're just going to be right, okay, we don't have the builds, we don't have the resources to stay in this game. Let's just try and maximize as much placement as we can. Let's sit back in the zone. Let's try and play those medkits. And right there, we saw the results of that, of course, with Griffin just being able to take that dub quite easily there all the way up on high ground. But that's the result, of course. If everyone else down below is fighting, you're just chilling on top.
I think that is a symptom of like the last qualifier, right? The last chance for you to really get as many serious points as possible. People scraping for any placement they can.
Yeah, I think it's competition management as well. People knowing, you can be a little bit more relaxed. Knowing you have to get those placement points as we talked about as well. Loads of big solo moments in that last game as well that we kind of featured. Let's talk about Rabbit for a second and Skrill. We saw kind of on the main feed there, and utilizing the low ground, ensuring they get as many points as well. The movement is one of the things that always blows my mind, and how the players manage to kind of adapt in any given situation here, Minnie. And I think we saw Skrill and Rabbit, knowing the right times to pounce now's the right times to hold back and managing to kind of get themselves as far up the placements as possible.
Yeah, huge credit here to Rabbit for doing that solo clutch on that low ground. So difficult to do that, to navigate through all of these builds, to use the movement, as you said, Adam, there. Just, it's so difficult to do that. While your back's to the storm, you're only 2 HP, the zone's coming in, there's players left, right, and center. To have that ability to have that awareness of all the players around you is such a great asset to have. And Rabbit's one of those players that has done that in the past. I've seen big solo clutches from him. We haven't quite seen them perform at the highest level right yet. So I want to see them do that in this qualifier here. I want to see them really take a stance and maybe just push for that upper bracket in semifinals.
That's right, that's right. I mean, already we can see the standings right now here, folks, as well. Already, I'm seeing names we know so well. We saw Cammy and Seti right there last week, but already, look, you can see in second place right now, Vico and Pink, already last week's top leaders in our European Week 1 standings, already in second place, Lev. They are, they're right where they left off. They're going straight back into it again.
Yeah, doing really, really well right now, and really enjoying first, right? Tied on points there, and same amount of elims and all, so really, really good start. Funnily enough, right, after that first game, their coach Bloodex messaged me and he went, Vico played that end game perfectly. So I knew they must have had a great game, but it looks like they really had a good game leading the way so far.
Yeah, Pablo and Bevy's there as well, I'm noticing in that end game. That's one of those teams that can have a really, really good day. When they're on their day, they are next level. And hopefully for them, that's what's happening. It seems like that's what's happening right now as well. Hopefully they can continue that throughout the day, because that's a really, really exciting duo to watch. Of course, towards the latter stages of Chapter 4, we did get to see some really great moments from them, but not quite, of course, making it all the way through to the Global Championships. I expect to see more from that duo this year. I want to see them keep developing, because when they're on top, they are on top form all the time.
Yeah, certainly are. Talking of teams that we are keen to see how they progress in the competition, we mentioned at the top of the show here, Queasy and Thomas HD. Where are they? What are they up to? We're going to find out right now as we jump back into the map and see where they are at. Let's join Takata and Jacob all over again. What's going on, lads? Tell us more.
Thank you so much, Adam. We are right back into the action here. Thomas HD, Queasy. I mean, I was talking about it, Jacob. If I'm looking for a duo, I want Thomas HD to be my duo with the shots that he connects. I'm excited to see if we're going to see some nice snipes throughout this match, as he does have that Reaper to his name with already 4 eliminations. You know, the confidence, the motivation is there. But one big game is what they need to bump themselves up to the top of the leaderboard. Didn't see them in the top 10, but time will tell.
Yeah, right now you kind of have it right. They're not necessarily in the top 10 and maybe not even in the top 25, but this team kind of prime time players. They kind of bounce back when it matters most, and theoretically, due to the estimates of the points, they already have their spot in the upper semis confirmed. So I feel like right now they should just kind of be working on their strategy, working on their game plan, consistently making it to these end games, because the analyst desk said one thing to kind of start the show. There hasn't really been one team this season, game after game, that convincingly takes high ground in the fashion that the old Queasy and Veno did of the past. And so far, it's been looking like Sinet and Vanyak in these last couple weeks to have figured out a strategy to at least have a claim towards that high ground time and time again. So I'll be looking around this week to see if anybody formulates a strategy to try to contest that, including Vortexers and Valko here, who are trying to make this rotation to zone.
Look, who knows, Jacob? Maybe we'll get a sweet little surprise in this match from Thomas and Queasy. Might feel like switching it up again and going back to their roots, back to the high ground. Vortexers, though, be careful. Snipe comes through. Knocked down to 75 HP, no shield. Forced to heal up here. Meanwhile, in this zone, the mountainous area causes these waterfalls, these ridges of now players down below getting shot from the duos that are boxed up above as they try to finish up these box fights. Curb. Looks like they're gonna do it. Fury picked up that second elimination. No shield though. Shots continued from the duos up top. This is going to be a difficult one. They do have the grapple blade, though.
Yeah, that's going to be the biggest key for the success here, including that elimination, getting a second chance at life. And you combine a lot of these little variables, including the fact that they are close to the zone as well. They could definitely kind of bounce back in this game. Medallion going ahead and getting Fury the shield that he needs. And he has the Flowberry Fizz in his back pocket when that time comes. But for now, they got themselves a little crevice at the edge of the zone, but they need to be careful. Kine and Noah, they're right above them on the same side of the mountain. If they're low on Surge, you know exactly what would happen.
I know exactly. As we look at Vortex, Cheatin, who don't have the same worry with 5 elims here. But what they do have is a bit of a worry of how they're going to make it the zone. It's a huge opening in front of them. Almost all the duos currently boxed up will have vision on them if they decide to white line the rotate. So question is, are they going to do some sort of a crash pad Flowberry combination? Are they going to go more towards the edge of Storm? But it does look like they're going to set it up with the crash pad.
You see as the zone just pushing towards the north, and as they pick their spot, the whole eastern side, even the south, is just stacked right now, as some players might be waiting for the zone to open. Players on the eastern edge, just outside, are going to have the hardest journey, depending on what they have in terms of their loot to try to make it there. But another zone, Takata, where it does look like we're going up a mountain. So again, if players haven't learned after the first two, you have to be ready. You have to be thoughtful in terms of your resource count and how and when you're going to use those, or if you're going to be able to get a refresh, because we've seen it throughout these past 2 games. You run out very, very quickly trying to maintain your position.
Chap now looking to see if he finds an option of that window that's opened up. It's Vortexers peeking through it, sees the barrel of the sniper rifle. But that would almost scare me. I mean, there's no sniper in Chap's inventory. He could just open up the cone, get quick scoped, but we'll hope that he makes the right decision here. As now a majority of the duos have already made it into Storm. And his pop shots back and forth, but for the duos that haven't made it already, you can see what they're going through now. 92 builds for Ander here. And it looks like they just might be in the edge of zone, and they've even pulled it pretty close.
Yeah, rather close. That kind of gives it the flexibility. They can try to late take high ground in this 8th zone while teams build up and make it easy for them. Or they can kind of continue in their position, playing a mid-ground layer. I think the worst decision, though, especially this early, is going all the way towards the low ground. The zone pulling over those open waters, down the mountain just a little bit. So, again, if you're not prepared, that's where it's going to get a little tough. As Fury and Curb, they get another elimination on the Kawhi Leonard.
I love the outfit.
Down. This has to be one of my favorite outfits in the game right now.
I mean, they're looking tropical, though. It's kind of, I wonder if they're getting, you know, a bit cold. They are in a snowy mountain. I feel like they're more used to warmer climates, but it doesn't look like it's a problem for them. I mean, they're flying in terms of damage, 1,500 as the Flowberry Fizz, fizzing up both players, giving them that boost they need to make it to zone clean. Picked up a flop or two, nice little present. Thought the holidays were over, but looks like they're not. As now, all the rotations come through. The chaos unfolds. I saw Queasy Thomas close by, but we're looking Heine here.
Noya and Heine just kind of boxed up right now. They don't have to rotate too far on. They're just trying to figure out where every player is positioned at, which is not the easiest thing, especially this stage of the game where everybody's kind of smushed closer and closer together. A couple of seconds left. The next one's going to pull all the way towards the left, which isn't too drastic of a pull that we've seen so far. But you can see some of those teams still over open waters. Right now, it looks like Philip Monk and his teammate are going to be the first team that has that front side of the zone, but they have the high ground momentarily. It's not going to be the easiest thing to hold on to, but definitely we'll be looking at them to be the one to try to at least make it a chance.
Look, I'm not trying to foreshadow anything here, but I do see Queasy, you know, taking a few peeks up above. He's kind of at a mid layer here. You can even see Thomas. They've got their eyes on height, and I know he has that Reaper sniper in hand, and there it is. Vortexers gets taken out by Thomas HD. Headshot snipe. That's another one to his list, as Volko forced to go alone, but he's unable to as he goes down as well. And now the momentum continues. 5 elims for Thomas HD.
That was a huge find for Thomas, and doing it this late in the game isn't the most easiest thing, but he catches them slipping right off guard. The pop shot from Thomas. That's why we call him one of the best snipers in Fortnite history. Now they're 1,000 over the threshold. 5 eliminations. They got to be feeling confident. And if you look at their resource count as well, they're just waiting for this moment to pop off.
Philip Monk continuing up above, but Kovacs taking shots. Looks like high ground could be getting contested here shortly. Just 18 above for the duo in the clouds. Flowberry Fizz getting used here. You can tell they want to continue it forwards as now looking to get those shots, unable to connect the sniper rifle, but Vortex cheating as well now. Gonna get the rotate.
Yep, Fizz is being popped. You know that one's coming out. Still trying to go for some pop shots with the sniper behind the back, staggering himself. He's trying to go ahead and figure out where everybody's rotating to, so him and Cheatin have a little bit easier of a time to try to get their own spot in towards the zone. You see that staying away from that low layer, looking towards the backside of the zone. Another missed opportunity for Vortex, but you miss 100% of the shots you don't take, and at least Vortex is keeping them on notice.
All it takes is one shot, is what they need to retake that height. Fury, though, Curve, they were dominating the early mid section of this match, and it looks like they want to do the same in late. 9 builds to their name. As they're looking here, how much real estate can they secure for those options of the players rotating through? And there it is, Vortex connection. It's not a knock, but it's enough. Now they build up. This could be it for the win condition they're looking for in the clouds now. Height has been taken, and all they have to do is maintain it.
I thought they got the memo about Vortex and him going for that high ground with the sniper, but they must have crumbled that memo up and threw it in the trash. That's something they're not going to want to have happen again. Chap having a little struggles along with Con towards the low ground, spots a couple shots onto Queasy before he gets on out. Now high ground makes him a focus, and he even got separated from his duo with no builds left. That's going to put them in a tough spot if they do try to reunite. Thomas and Queasy, they're staying ahead of everybody else, and they did it once more as they find themselves front side of the zone.
Grouped up. Queasy fizzing up Thomas here. Recuperating those shields that he's missing. As now a knock in front of him. Another Elim. That's 7. Thomas HD on fire. Currently recuperating materials now. 83 builds. This could be enough, but it looks like they're dropping down below. Still grouped up. This match is looking giant for the duo.
Yeah, it looks like Thomas is playing with a chip on his shoulder so far. Same could be said about Fury and Curb. Another elimination found, bringing their total to 10 so far, but just a little too antsy. Gets to the front side of zone, gets taken down, but his teammate's still alive. 11 eliminations, keep it counting. 8 for Thomas and Queasy. They're stuck towards the low ground, but they always find themselves the front side of zone. That gives them a huge advantage over players. And another opportunity. Back-to-back shots. Count them up. Thomas with 10 eliminations by himself. Top 3 situation. Cheating forced down low, but he picks up his 6, goes for the 7th, and a knock onto Thomas, which leaves Queasy by himself. This could be a 1v1v1.
The Reaper has been stopped. Queasy now forced up the hill, unable to make it up as Vortex is going to be the one securing that last Elim. 3 medkits to his name. It's going to end heal off here. Ricky, 2 medkits to work with. Vortex now looking like he has the win condition, but the engagement could come through.
Yeah, if Ricky can find something. He also has the grapple to try to go up and stop this play, but he doesn't know exactly where he's at. Time's running down. Gets the high ground. The medkit's not going to be popped. He doesn't even try to fight for the heal off. He goes down, and the game goes on over to his opponents in a rather easy fashion.
Big props to Vortex for securing the VR through that heal off, but also we have to mention Thomas HD, 10 eliminations, double digit by himself. Queasy was the supporting factor there in terms of the elims, but Thomas HD was on fire.
Yeah, so many big names putting up a massive amount of points, and so many teams that are hanging on to their FNCS life in terms of the leaderboard, popping off big as well. And there goes Vortex, the confidence. He spotted his opponent out just in the distance, and he knew it wasn't going to be a worry. They take that game and move themselves up the leaderboard. But what do the leaderboards look like? Let's throw it on to the analyst desk to break it all down.
Oh, what a question that is. What do the leaderboards look like? We don't know because everything is happening. It's coming at us left, right, and center. We're going to check that out very shortly indeed. But thank you to Carter and Jacob there. I mean, what an amazing win there. Vortex cheating there. 11 eliminations. They get themselves way up the leaderboard again there. But interesting to see that we had big highlights there. We'll get on to Thomas shortly because we have to talk about that. But 11, a great start for this team who get themselves a victory royale. And we're looking forward to seeing where they're currently placing in FNCS Week 2.
Yeah, a huge win for this team. And they did so brilliantly towards the end there, Minnie. They were staying on those high layers, eventually saw an opportunity to get height. Vortex hit a lovely snipe that opened the door for them to move on up, and they never looked back. The medkits were too many for anybody else to handle, and Cheating just went on a rampage towards the end. Not as strong as the one we saw from Thomas, I'm sure we'll get to that, but still a rampage that was enough to get them done. He ended up being the one to take out Thomas there with that final shot, so huge game for them. And I've always been a fan personally to your Vortex as well. I've always thought he's a fantastic player. Really happy for these two.
Yeah, really great stuff from them. That's just a typical masterclass on how to play an endgame here in Chapter 5, Season 1. Frag out in mid-ground, get a bunch of materials, get a bunch of eliminations, look for an opportunity to hike, take it, and then win the heal off right there at the end. That's just exactly how you should play these endgames. You can see this is a duo that's confident right now. They're confident to undertake their strategy, and they're not worried about how they're going to play or how other teams are going to play around them, right? They're just going to say, right, we're going to try and focus on what we need to do, and if there's an opportunity for hike, we're going to go for it. And again, what a beautiful snipe. It wasn't a knock, it wasn't a headshot, but it was enough to take them onto that high ground.
It was indeed. I mean, great victory there. We've got to lean our attention as well towards a player that we kind of started with in that game there, Thomas HD. I mean, at this point, do we just simply knight him on behalf of Britain? I mean, do we do that? Do we just knight the guy? So Thomas HD.
Honestly,
I mean, just clear.
I know the Danes won't be happy.
Denmark will love that.
They won't be happy.
They'll love it. They'll love it.
I'll take him because what a player! I mean, it's just ridiculous, Mini Miner, the levels these guys are able to reach. But Thomas in particular, 10 limbs, all on his lonesome, and every single one of them was a highlight play. I mean, this snipe here, Mini, had me out of my seat. It was just, he peeks out for just half a second, and it's over for you.
I mean, talk about confidence. This whole season, Thomas HD has been taking that sniper into endgame, and we saw it from Vortex in that last highlight package. We saw how valuable it is. Again, Thomas HD showing us why he is one of the best in the region, if not the best, particularly with that sniper, right? He is absolutely unreal, and it's that auto shotgun lever. We spoke about it before.
Man.
This guy, he knows how to use it.
He absolutely knows how to use it, right? When, like I said at the start of the day, I asked Queasy, why do you even want to play low ground when Thomas can have that mythic auto shotty? Why would you not want to play low ground if he's going to hit shots like that?
Oh, wow. I mean, double digits on his own back there as well, Thomas HD. You can see there they propel themselves in 5th place currently, as you can see there. But other teams managing Mappy and Della right now in that first spot there, Mini, with 2 victory royales already.
Back.
Great stuff from them, yeah. Back-to-back victory royales. Exactly the start that this duo wanted, because, of course, there's a duo that have been on the come-up as well. We haven't seen too much from them at the top end of the leaderboard, so I'm really happy for them that they're able to find their way up to the top as we get to see the 11th through 20th right now. Some other names that we're seeing a little bit there. Chap, of course, in that end game between Swizzy and Putrik, one of our champions as well. So lots of big names on this top of the leaderboard, and, of course, things can change so quickly.
Absolutely. I look at Voxy and DKS. They were electrifying to start the week last week, and then they sort of simmered off, and it looks like again they're having a decent start. They're up in that top 20 this week. Will they have learned their lesson? Are they going to be able to hold on to this type of position?
Yeah, I think that's a real big part of this. You know, can you manage to sustain 3-6 consistency all the time? It is really important, particularly in a format like this. There's no stopping this. There's no stopping this bus, this train, whatever we want to call it. We are heading straight back into the map one more time here. We're joining up with Janice and Flixie right now, who are currently taking on some of the action out there in our week 2 here of FNCS Europe. Do not go anywhere. Jump in with Takata and Jacob, because they are ready and waiting for you.
With just about an hour done on today's games, only 2 hours left, position on the leaderboard has to be perfect. Yanis and Flixie, last week they placed 192 place. That gives them 100 series points for week 1. Currently they're position 6. That's a great spot, and they have their upper semi secured. If the tournament ended now, they could still fall down. So for Janice and Flixie, it's just about maintaining that position on the leaderboard and consistency throughout the next 2 hours.
Quick refresh for the people joining in. This is the last chance to qualify to those semifinals. It's the second qualifier now. Top 50 on the series leaderboard will qualify to the upper bracket of the semifinals, and the lower 200 in the lower bracket. So this is the last chance, the last couple hours here for these players to make their final debut and try and secure that qualification to get them just that much closer to grand finals. Howley and his duo partner right below the floating island. So far, just kind of making use of the rifts, I believe, waiting for the zone to close and then continue their rotation.
Yeah, for them, you got to imagine they're boxed up right on a rift as well, or at least nearby, where they can make an easy rotation forward. But as soon as they peek out, go towards the right side, you see them become a focus of a team that's just trying to gatekeep them out. Shimoki and Wheat, they always find themselves, or at least halfway through the game at this point, a good spot in towards zone. They consistently making great rotations, and then they always have damage when it comes to that storm surge. So for them, they playing a really good game out so far up to this point, and a really good day of games, and they're hiding all the grapple blades underneath that rock. They don't want to give free loot to anybody else. That's really thinking outside of the box and denying resources from your opponents.
Good way to get the job done. 3 elims for Wheat Shimoki as they continue farming up as the rotations come through. Scram. Where's your duo partner? Scram still up and healthy, looking good. No worries for this duo. Lavish Lair, a lot of duos around it. It is the edge of the zone. 17 seconds till next one does appear. And we'll see those rotates come through. But so far, it looks like they're just looking back, seeing if there's any duos that might be rotating in a bit late here. Scrapped in the meantime, recuperating those materials, making sure he's as close to 150 builds as possible. A lot of these tropical outfits we've been seeing here, Jacob. A fan favorite recently in the competitions.
It's definitely one of my favorites. This one and the Big Chicken. There's probably my 2 favorites right now. You know, getting eliminated by one of those has to kind of cause a little bit of frustration here and there, but that's usually the fun part about it, is Debule and Pixel. Literally slap in the center of the zone. So they're gonna have to make the decision. Do they hold their position here, let other teams rotate around them? Do they move deeper into the zone when it does open up? They have so much flexibility, and then you add on the fact that their material count, they have an insane amount of materials, so they can literally do anything that they want.
They have options, and that's crucial in this stage of the match. As now, Vortex frag for Shieldfish. Looks like ready to get some frags with that loadout. But being on the corner of zone as it closes in, you want to be careful here. You can take some shots, but a full-on engagement could be too risky, as now one of the players has been cracked. But luckily enough, as they are so far from the zone, their opponents are just going to decide to rotate.
Yeah, and like you said, they are far from the zone. So is everybody else. So if they're able to kind of rotate first, or at least ahead of the majority of the lobby, it's going to make it that much easier. As they look towards the back side of the zone, they catch somebody slipping. He's just trying to get that damage for Storm Surge. That is going to be a knocked body. I think he might have got knocked to fall damage, as you see the shield still on him, Takada.
I'm not sure exactly what ended up happening there, but let's hope for the best. The Scripted now, scripting his own story, takes out another one, 2 to his name. 3 now, actually. 430 above, but be careful. You can see in the minimap how many duos are boxed up here. This is going to be a difficult entry into the zone, but it looks like he's not even done. Taking more shots of the duos in the surrounding. Not ready to box up yet. Duo partner was already boxed up. Has a nice little base to wander on into. Now medkit being popped, recuperating what was lost during that rotate. Not sure if his duo has a medallion or not. Looks like they're going to be forced to pop that big shield to recuperate. Once again, what they had lost. As now we look at another crash pad flowberry rotate, but it hasn't gone as smoothly as it could.
Yeah, forced to waste the second one, and that's the thing about these rotates. If you're not really precise, or if you take a little bit too long, they will shoot out that crash pad junior. So it kind of causes a little bit of a hurry for some players. 164 above the damage threshold for them. It's not necessarily a worry. They can continue to rotate in front of everybody else, but for now it's just about looking back, getting more surge before in the next minute it opens up and it forces them to continue that rotation.
Taking a look now at Shimoki, put in the center between a couple duos here. Especially as a solo, it's not a position you want to be in. The good news is, though, being far from the zone, everybody's kind of focused a bit more on making it in, on rotating. But meanwhile, when you get closer and closer to the edge of that zone, there's going to be more duos looking back at you. So you have to plan adequately how you want to enter here. And Shimoki has just made it to the edge, losing his shield, but he does have those 2 minis to recuperate it. But do they know that it's a solo is the question. Will they follow that along? As even players now behind, continuing to make it on in.
Yeah, he did a good job of making himself look just a little bit bigger than he actually is, playing as a solo. Vortex, the same thing. 2 wide or more. Especially if the player's looking in a direction and they don't see it, they might not necessarily know how many players are in that box, as Vortex just biding his time well above the damage threshold. Very little to worry about other than just making this rotation perfect. 25 players still left alive, so now placement points are going to begin to set in, and you're seeing how it happened. Yanis just goes in, saves Flixie, keeps him alive, and takes another duo out of the lobby, but the pressure has not slowed down just yet. Flixie did get taken down. Somebody probably saw that one into the distance and wanted to join the party.
1,500 builds to work with, though. Big pot being used. 100 HP, 100 shield. Yanis is a solo, but with the current loadout I'm looking at, I have faith, I have confidence that he can make something happen here. Zone now starting to close. 40 seconds on the ticker. 293 above. Has a bit of freedom, a bit of time here to decide what's going to be the rotate. As it looks like he's going to be taking it slow, recycling a lot of the spare materials that he did get, making sure it's a safe rotate in. But how safe can it be when there's that many duos applying pressure? He's going to pick up that extra metal that was left behind.
Yeah, smart plays, especially as a solo. Just extend outward, even go up a few layers along the way, and then turn back when you become a focus, so they probably think you left, even though not really. High ground, maybe too early. Robin and Dax are going to be the ones that claim it for now. A couple teams, that mid layer, probably looking for that opportunity to take it away. Pixel and Debule, 2 eliminations so far. They're faring very, very well, especially considering they're currently positioned at the front side of the zone.
We'll see where this zone does pull. 10 seconds. Looks like it's going to pull south, west. Is that where our high ground team was positioned? It might just be. Looks like they were a bit fortunate here, and they might just be able to maintain it. As you can see, zone is pulling back towards their side, building even higher up. They can take that risk now, especially with the flow berries, the flow berry fizz, and even grapple blades, allowing you to avoid that fall damage. And it looks like Shimoki has just been sent right back to the lobby. There goes our solo, as Robin continues to build forwards, but the Buell. Danger comes through, 17 HP now. Gonna be forced to pop that med kit.
Yeah, great job staying alive, but separates from his teammate Pixel, who's probably going through similar struggles, but not really taking damage, which means he's probably the front side of the zone. Debule just trying to go ahead and catch up along the way. Drops down low almost instantly to try to reunite. Elevation only means so much as a solo. And luckily his teammate spreads the love. There's 2 minis, there's a big pot there, so he's gonna get back up to 200 HP and shield as long as he has the time.
Time to breathe as well for Janice now, as zone has pulled back. Gonna conserve some materials here, but with 49 above, wants to look for something, a bit of damage. Robin still maintaining height. Meanwhile, this change in elevation causes chaos for everybody below. Scrap now alongside Scram, continuing to jump around with that fizz effect as they've boxed up.
He's trying to reunite with Scram, spots out Howley on the other side, stops right in his tracks, goes up a layer, so great moving by Srap to try to stay alive and reposition. Frizzy and Howley, those are the ones that they saw just moments ago. Not finding that same crevice to go ahead and move through. Frizzy becomes a focus. 100 shields gone just like that before reuniting with Howley. This duo is just trying to stay hip to hip because the pressure is coming. It is on the way, and they disengage once more. Frizzy goes down. Howley forced to the outside of zone. First of 2 med kits to stagger himself is going to be popped.
Time ticking. Looking. What are the options here? Does he continue low? Grapple blade made to good use, but it's a duo down below. It's a blender, you gotta be careful. You don't want to be an ingredient. As the last med kit being popped now, HP recuperated, and Janice still looking strong as a solo, has played this whole endgame as a solo. Just 23 builds now, gets ahead, but the pressure comes through from behind. Still 2 med kits. Might have to take a step back here and play inside the zone as now med kits popped. Howley was about to make it back in, gets deleted though. back to the lobby as Janice now picks up one. That's a refresh. Huge impact.
Yeah, at this stage of the game, this is where points are really going to start to rack up. Top 10 get you about half the points so far. Inside of the top 10, that's when it begins to come easy as Giannis is trying to break through, give himself some space to work with. That's the last med kit is going to be popped. You can see him eyeing the high ground, figure out where these players are at, because this is going to be a sneaky play from Giannis if he's trying to make his way back in. Goes forward, doesn't grab height just yet. He wants to stay away from everybody else, and at second height right now, Takada, I think he's done just that.
Second height as a solo. Giannis is feeling confident here, as he does have to be careful, as now he realizes he has to make a bit of a change. Doing it so well, as now though the materials have ran out. Looking to recycle other ones. Finds a duo, takes the first shot. It's not enough though. Giannis down, Scram are going to be the ones to take the E-Lib.
Yeah, nice find in terms of the materials to keep themselves moving forward. They know there's a team above them. They know there's a few below as well. Top 6, everybody still left in the game is a complete and full duo. Nathan trying to drop down. Nice shot. CZB there to follow up, and they get a full-on wipe. Couple more players getting taken down. Top 5 position on the leaderboard is up for grabs.
Maddox now with his duo partner up on height, trying to cause disruption here. Take shots, do damage is Maddox's job, as CZB is going to be one of the players continuing the rotate. Scram as well. Robin, everybody now. It's an ultimate heal-off battle.
Yeah, it even looks like Scram using his last med kit. Top 3, basically a solo FNCS here to end this game out. And with Scram finishing off the med kit, it's now or never. You got to be able to fight it out, and he doesn't even get an opportunity. CZB, with more than enough med kits and fighting for that chance, takes the game and moves up the leaderboard.
Nathan, CZB securing the victory royale from the heal-off. Meanwhile, Robin and his duo partner held tight throughout the whole end game, not contested a single time, but were unable to secure the heal-off in those last moments and ended up going down in the top 3.
Yeah, so far we're seeing a mixture of both heal-offs and players fighting to stop the heal-off in this FNCS so far. And it just goes to show that that's how different some of these games are. There's a lot of chaos towards the low ground, but it's the consistency that matters most to be able to pull through. With another game done and dusted, we need help from our analyst desk to break down some of this chaos.
Yes, indeed. Nathan and CZB get the victory royale, and they continue to get more points, which is exactly what they need to do. Is just keep up with the rest of the pack at this point, Mini. And 3 eliminations, but still every single kind of placement counts. We saw a 4-way heal off there, which is a rare thing to see, but it shows that everyone is prepared for endgame because they know how vital every single place point is.
Yeah, you can see that, of course. This is, of course, the second week of qualifying, the last chance to qualify into those semi-finals. And CZB and Nathan, they had a very good week last week. They didn't have a bad week at all. I think it was top 41, I believe it was, for that duo. So not a bad performance whatsoever in that time. So they're just adding to those series points. They're just making sure they can solidify their spot in those upper bracket semis because they do deserve it. They're playing very, very well this season.
I feel like I haven't been able to say this in a long time, but UK on top, repping the UK, Nathan and CZB, big ups to them from a big win.
Yeah, massive props, yeah, for sure. I mean, I think as well, like, we have to look at other players as well in and amongst that lobby who are kind of managing to kind of do great things and managing to get more points, like Janice's duo as well. I think it's definitely worth taking a look at this also. And as well, I want to talk about height at some stage too, because we're seeing a lot of teams now who are managing to have a lot of time on height not being contested. Which is strange, Levin.
Yeah, I mean, it's part and parcel of what we're seeing a lot this season, where things are quite hectic at times up there, but it seems when you are able to take it and you sort of move through that wave of chaos, things sort of do pander out. Janice, though, it was weird, right? Because obviously, I think back in the day, we associate Janice with being a prolific solo player, and to get to see him in that sort of solo element again in the endgame was fun for sure. I'm sure we would have hoped it would have went out a bit differently, but still, Janice and Flixie, they'll be there kicking all day long.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what that duo can do. This is one of the duos that I have my eyes close on here because I was a really big fan of Gripey and Flixie when they were playing together. I thought they were a fantastic duo. I think they had a really good performance. It was early in Major. No, I think it was Major number 2. They did really, really well from that sort of mega city area. Yeah. They split, right? So I'm like, this is something that I wasn't quite a fan of. But now, of course, Janice and Flixie coming together. 2 very, very experienced players. You've got the fragging ability, of course, of Flixie, and you've got the experience of Janice just showing what he can do right there. Not quite the ideal end game that we want to see from them. There's not too much structure to their game at the moment there in that end game, but something that they can work on hopefully throughout the rest of the day.
Yes, indeed here. And you can see already teams are flip-flopping all over the place on our leaderboard because that's exactly how this is. They just keep on battling out there, trying to get as much as they can done in the next couple of hours that they have left in this competition. Right here, 11, you can see Victory Royales at the top there. Mappy and Dilla have 2. They remain on top with 130 place points, 18 eliminations here. But there are teams right on their tail.
Yeah, absolutely, man. You know, you're sort of not safe at this point. You got to make sure you're staying on your toes. I'm sure Darky is in 4th is going to be, you know, making Takata through the moon. You know, he's always happy to see his boys doing well. Looking at this second page though, we had Strapped in that last game playing with Scram Mini, and I always have kept an eye on Strapped since that season we played with Anas because everyone bigged him up as this big talent that we have to keep our eyes on. And so I'm still waiting for the sort of blow up here, but you know, him with Scram seems like a really cool combination that could reap rewards.
Yeah, we're seeing little inklings here from Strap, seeing this sort of potential that he has finally starting to flourish a little bit in this duo. And I think there's a little bit less pressure on him now, right? He's not in that spotlight. He's not being talked about quite as much, which I think for a lot of players that are a little bit more evolving and on the come up in the scene, that can actually benefit them a lot. You don't have that spotlight on you. So this is a duo that I have my eyes on, of course. They didn't do that great last week for their standards, so they need a good performance today. It was around 200th place they came last week in the finals. Not their best performance. Ideally here, they want to keep on performing like they did in that end game, because that was like, what, a top 3, top 2 from those guys? Really solid stuff. So they can continue that. They'll be on to a winner.
Yeah, that's right. And you can see it on the leaderboard as well. You know, players, your teams are only going 1 or 2 places up or down. That's how tight things are right now here in week 2 of FNCS Major 1 Europe. Right, let's jump back into the action here. I believe we're catching up with last week's leaders, Pink and Vico. Let's see what they're up to out on the map. Let's rejoin Takata and Jacob. Tell us what's going on, fellas.
Great breakdown as always, and just like that, Vico and Pink now looks like they've got a whole tunnel going for them as the opponents are on the other side. About halfway through now of the matches. Reminder, there are 5 matches being played out, 250 duos. And for a lot of them, for everybody, actually, it's their last chance to make it to the semifinals, whether it be upper bracket of the top 50 or lower in the lower 200. And you know the pressure is going to start getting to a lot of these duos, Jacob.
The way Pink and Vico have been playing recently, they can easily pick up a huge amount of points. It's not too far off, about 116 to 166. One well-placed game will definitely put them right back on top to kind of repeat for last week. Others might not have that same comfortability. You see the Flowberry rotate with the launch pad. This distance is absolutely needed so they can try to save as many of the resources and heals as possible.
Taking a look here, it's Tace and Veno actually who was put into an engagement, as Veno was forced into the 1 versus 2, but we know who Veno is. Not worried at all, as he was able to take down 2, 3 total for the duo. But it looks like once the reboot had to come through, was he able to come out on top? 124, 20 white, no. Goes down with just 1 shot left. Tayson and Veno out of the game.
That's a huge elimination there for Tayson and Veno. They're just still trying to find their stride. But I look at them as kind of like prime time players. When it comes to those set lobbies, it's almost a whole different beast, but you still have to be able to form. You still have to be able to make it there. Just like Sinid and Vanyak. Feel like they're the new kings of the high ground this season, even though it might be a little too early to tell. But they're the ones that I've consistently been able to find at the top of that mountain. See the split in materials between them both. In case you guys are just tuning in, wondering what that was, both of those players split their materials in half. They gather their respective others' materials, so that gives them a rather equal amount of mats to continue on in this game.
Taking a look at now Vanyak Synod, who are getting shots taken at them. As Marius, though, beautiful rotate on the beach. 755 above Storm, 5 elims, playing as a solo though. Makes it that much more difficult, but it could be a reminder of what we saw last game from Yanis, who had an incredible solo clutch. Whole end game basically played out as a solo.
Yeah. Now Marius kind of has to do the same thing. We saw where his opponent got taken down early on in this game, but 6 eliminations, 755 damage above the threshold. He's currently positioned in a good spot to pick up a lot of points as a solo, especially since there's less than 25 left alive. So every team that does go down, that's more placement points for your effort. So even if you don't take a big fight from here on out for the rest of the game, you could still skate by and gather as many points as possible.
Vico Pink. Are they trying to do something here? Looking through the edits, so many players around them. It almost doesn't even look worth it here to start any aggression until the zone continues pulling. Just 10 seconds until it will close. And being in the dirt here, crouched up. Not even enough room to breathe. Kind of getting me a little scared of the situation, but looks like they're got a lot more builds to work with now as the zone's been moving. They want to get ahead quickly, stay in front of their opponents, and then they'll be able to look back.
Yeah, there's only one team currently positioned on the front side of the zone along with them, so it's not going to be too difficult for them to find a spot that they are comfortable with. Paco and Marine, 1,000 above the threshold. All they need is that same position. They're immediately going to go and move towards the front side, up the mountain with the grapple blade as well. That's something they don't want to wait to the zones on their back to worry about. Easily make it from point A to point B. So many other teams making that same rotation, and I think they're making a great knowledgeable decision to not peek unless they have to. An easy snipe, which we've seen already through today's games, can end their run.
Paco Marine, 1,000 above the Storm Surge threshold. In a good position here, almost centered in the zone. Meanwhile, Eddie and his duo partner have not pulled the zone. Opposite side ends up closing 9th zone here. Will they try and get ahead, or will they just stay and rotate later? They have a vision over almost the whole lobby here, so it should open up those opportunities to get those tags on the duos that are starting their engagements now for that Storm Surge. Zone begins to close. Marine building up. Looks like Paco Marine are going to be the ones that want to hold on here, but be careful, as those Flowberry rotates are dangerous as the players pass by them in the sky. And it looks like just like that, Hype has been overtaken.
Yeah, by Monking and Griffin. We've already seen them close out one game due to the high ground. But a nice conscientious decision from Marine and Paco to give it up. They were running out of resources rather quickly. Even if they won the high ground, I feel like they would have had nothing left to hold on to it. As Monking and Griffin, different song and dance, they have the materials. You see them spreading out from the high ground to the low ground. Peak and Vico still smooth sailing, even changing layers with the Flowberry Fizz. They're going ahead to the front side of the zone. Quick separation between the two, but they waste no time fighting their way back to one another.
Materials running a bit low. 30 builds to work with. Consumables heals at an all-time high, though. Pink fizzing up Vico here, giving him that mobility boost, that energy. As now they moved up a couple layers, as Marius continues to play as a solo. Reminder, has been playing as a solo throughout this whole end game here. But it looks like the danger levels are going to rise too high as he gets taken out. Synod Vaniac now ahead of the Storm, continuing to tarp on the edge, but Materials once again only 14 builds.
Surprising to see their consistency here from the high ground going all the way down low to the low ground as well, showing they can literally do it all. Vico and Pink still doing a good job staying ahead of the zone, but resources are beginning to run out. They might have to go for a refresh, and Psycho Cringe on the other side, Noms as well, they're becoming the target, but no entry is going to be granted. Pink and Vico, they have to disengage and figure out another path to the front side of the zone.
Aggression is going to have to come through shortly as the Materials run lower and lower. Zangi, though, up top. Height has been overthrown once again. It's the new duo with the crowns as they continue to apply that pressure on the teams down below. Good amount of materials to work with for Paco and Marine, though. On the contrary, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, that's it. You're done. Your teammate better have some builds, because if not, you're going to need an impact frag, a refresh here. Some eliminations as watch out as Vico and Pink from the back. They get a huge shot on Paco, but it's not enough to knock him down. As now they rotate through. looking to make something happen.
Yeah, that was a close call for both of the respective duos, but once again, Pink returns to the scene of the crime, finds the elimination, and gets the refresh in the siphon that's absolutely needed. Another player is beginning to put them under siege. The builds are already under Vico's control, and he is scrambling all around. No builds left to his name, trying to stay alive. He also has the flopper, so I think that's going to be the play for him. Stagger himself just a little bit so he can get a nice flank on an unsuspecting player, and I think Eddie might be him.
Target might have been found. It has been found, but it's not enough for a knock. Last flopper gets eaten. Vico now forced to jump back on in. The question is he going to run into a duo? Will he run into a solo? It's a duo down below. It's not where you want to be. Paco now finishing him off as Vanyak and Sined. 7 elims. They're on fire. They're hungry. They want more. As Focus Zangi up above, continuing to take on shots and play more aggressive.
Yeah, and they have the builds to go ahead and hold on to it. It's just about if they're going to go ahead and fall down, because on Focus, there's no HP heals on him. So if this goes going down to heal off, they might not have what it takes to make it come through. Vanyak's still holding on the front side of zone. Sined's there as well. They're just a little separated, trying to reunite. Marine, he's going to start to heal off maybe a little too early, but still has 2 other medkits left with 9 eliminations on the team. Top 6 has been secured. Vanyak's going to go down. That leaves it all to Sined and his 1 medkit. So he's going to have to go on the hunt as soon as this one's done.
Focus continuing to disrupt the low ground. His duo partner is up above in the clouds playing the heal off. All he has to do is disrupt, cause chaos, but he's unable to do so. Zangi now continuing with the medkits. Marine forced into the action. All players down below has been eliminated. Will Marine be able to find a heal off? No, unable to. Zangi coming out on top.
It just looked like all-out destruction towards that low ground. Even with the heal-offs, they were trying to outlast for those points, but it was the high ground yet again. With some of these roller coaster of zones, it allows for them to not only save the resources, but not even get looked at. Not a single shot going the way of high ground throughout the course of that end game, which made it easy for Zangi to hold on to those medkits and take it all.
Even had the option to take shots if he needed to. He had that vision, that line of sight onto Marine, but with Marine unable to pick up the medkit, to pick up the heals, he went down in the 2nd place, but that's good enough to continue forwards. But what I want to continue to is those 3 beautiful faces. Adam Levin Mini, what you got?
Oh, so much there. The beach battle build fest comes to an end there. I mean, that's what one of the things I kind of took away from that kind of that end game as well. Having to build out there, Mini, when there is nothing around you, but there's no cover essentially. You have to create your own by tarping like crazy. Amazing to see kind of how players adapt in that any given situation, how they kind of manage to style things out as well.
Yeah, that's what Fortnite's all about. If you're not adaptable, you're not able to be at the top of your game. We saw that there. Just not able to have the resources there at the end for Vico, and it just shows that if you don't have those resources, you don't get those refreshes earlier on, you're not able to continue those tarps. It's not like there's a big building in the way. The beaches don't have the big buildings, but a really great win there from Focus and Zangi all the way up on top. Really nicely taken high ground as well.
Yeah, 100%. I think you look at how these guys have been able to hold on. Very, very cautious in making sure that the heal off was going to be possible, Zangi. And of course, it was definitely the right thing to do. And it all pays off towards the end. And they'll be ecstatic about that. A big, big win for them in their push for the semis.
Indeed, that's right. You can see some of the stats on screen there as well, coming in from our victory royales as well here. I think you've got some context as well. You can see kind of 18 eliminations that the course thus far from this duo. However, earlier in the competition, I think Vox and DKS with 16 limbs in one game. In one game. We saw Thomas actually with 10 off his own back earlier on, but 11, I mean, we saw it last week as well, actually. We saw kind of a few games with some huge elimination, but I think we called for a 20 bomb last week. We didn't quite get there, but I think we had 18, but 16 already with time left on the clock. I mean, it just goes to show the caliber of players as well.
I'll be real, man. Sined and Vanyak, man, I'm noticing. I'm starting to notice with these guys because every single end game, I'm seeing their names and I'm seeing higher limbs, and now I'm trying to piece it together. There's something about this team this season that it feels different, Mini.
It feels different. And what I've always said about Vanyak's that sort of player that will have a massive clutch performance in one game in a tournament every single time without question. But it seems like now that he's able to find a little bit of consistency here with his duo. He's able to find a little bit of a rhythm to the day. Not even just the game itself, the overall competition, the tournament management today is really top tier. So I'm expecting to see more from this duo because we saw them on a high in one of those games earlier, doing very well, of course, coming out there. And even here on those mid to low ground layers, still picking up eliminations, still bouncing off each other as a duo. I like this development from this duo because we haven't seen this too much from Vaniac in the past. Could this be the new match made in heaven?
Look, you're seeing Vaniac. I know what I get from Vaniac. We've been seeing what we get from Vaniac. Sinner's the one that's impressing me. You saw that game, he had 7 limbs. Like, he was popping off, and I think Sinner's never been that player that I've associated with. Maybe it's just when you play with Vaniac, you just turn into an animal. Like, it unleashes the beast within you, and you instantly become this frag master. But Sinner and Vaniac, man, they are cooking this season. I'm enjoying it. The fans are enjoying it. I hope it continues.
Yeah, and Sined Vanic, if you're watching as well, you're on Levin's radar now. You basically made it to Hollywood. You basically made it. I mean, that's it. If you're on his radar, that's it. That's it now.
I'm noticing.
He knows. Let's take a look at him. We saw them Flowberry fizzing their faces off as well here. Pink and Vico out there. We know that they have been a tour de force, an incredible duo at the course here as well. But Mini, what is... I mean, they obviously won last week. They came top of the leaderboard. They came very, very top there with the most points. But what is it that's really working so well in their favor right now? What makes them so darn dangerous?
I think when they just play together, when they're hip to hip, when they're going for those mid-ground refreshes, they seem to be one of the most unstoppable teams in EU at the moment. But that's a big if. If they're able to stay together, if they're able to stay on the same page, because we saw it right there at the end. Vico just got a little bit lost down on low ground, didn't quite know what was going on. He got a little bit scuffed down there. But when they are together, when they're both alive, when they're both able to pick up those refreshes, that's really where they thrive. And I think there's not too many better duos at the moment in terms of the chemistry that these guys have in EU at the moment to match them. They're really, really on top form. And Pink's such a great IGL. I'm really liking watching them develop right now.
Yeah, I think the comms would be great as well because Vico is a character as well. I'd love to hear exactly what goes on in the comms during their games because it's absolutely working, fellas. You can see here as well, leaderboards right now, standings 1 through 10 right there. Kiro and Kudo, got to say there, shout out there, Elims, 25 eliminations. I mean, that 11, again, racking up numbers, baby.
Yeah, I mean... what more do you say? They're clearly popping off right now, right? Like, you know, whenever you got the hot hand, you just hope it continues and you can keep racking in the points.
Yeah, they certainly are. As you can see, the rest of our teams as well, trying desperately to get towards that top 10 because we all know the series points. As well, Minute, you kind of put it all together for us so well last week regarding series points and how this all comes to fruition here. Obviously, a couple of weeks' time where things kind of really get serious with our brackets. But what is it that stands out for you in terms of what do players really need to do today to ensure they guarantee themselves in a top position going into those kind of like last couple of weekends?
I think for this sort of format, for these players, it's all about maximizing the games that you can make to end game. A lot of players will have this thing about just about making it to the sort of top 25, top 24, and then going down. It's all about making sure you can make it past those games. If you have a couple of like 18th, 19th, a couple of eliminations, they're not the games you want in this type of 10-game format. You need to make the most of the games, play out as many as you can, and particularly when it's all on the line here, for those teams that aren't quite even secured in the semi-finals, it's all about making the games that you can make to end game count, because remember, these are some of the top tier players in the world. You have to be aggressive. You can't just sit back and hope that Storm Surge tags are just going to appear in front of you, that players are just going to drop loot in front of you. It's not going to happen, right? You have to be confident, and for those players, it's making it past that sort of 25th, 26th spot.
All right, you heard it there. That's exactly how they're going to get forward and get into those latter stages of the competition here. Now, top of the show, we're talking about players we want to duo with. Levin, we talked about Mustache here. We're actually going to join Mustache now. Sadly, you're not his duo partner, but Malabuka is. Let's see exactly what they're up to and how they're faring in our competition. Let's dive in and rejoin Takata and Jacob. Let's bring it home, lads. Here we go. Here we go.
What a treat we have in store for us. Malabuka and Mustache ready to kind of pop off. When we first saw them today, for the first time, we saw them stuck in just a tough spot. They went down early on in that first game. I'm just hoping they've had continued success ramping up from there. As Uwe and TJ Inyo, they're inside of the threshold of continuing on in their FNCS. It's about where do they end up, upper or lower of the semis, or does everything have a meltdown and they don't qualify at all? They're definitely one of the teams that have my eye on because they're just on the hunt.
Let's hope they don't melt. For Walks, though, and Pixie, they are the ones that are doing the melting here. As the Jinno, Oogway taking some counter shots, though, actually cracking walks here. As now forced to disengage. And now Oogway with just a bit more time to breathe, going for a sneaky play, crouched up. No footsteps being heard. Can they find that angle, that connection that they're looking for?
And see, I think their opponents just don't want anything of this trickery. They probably heard the audio go quiet, no more footsteps, just like you were pointing out. And they say, I'm not ready for a sneak attack. Let's just get out, reposition. We're not too far from zone as well. So we could try to gatekeep them out if we still have that in the back of our minds. But for Oogway and TJ, they get themselves a second chance to continue rotate. Because right now they're low on materials as well. So they got a lot to do here on their list.
Right, they're not really in need of those eliminations. They already had 2 racked up from the start of the match. So it's all about continuing the loot path, getting the materials, getting the loot back to where they want it to be. Merstash, you can see in the feed as well. Quick elim. They are around fencing fields. Curious to if they secured the medallion or the mythic loot yet. But for Haijo, it's more than mythic loot. What they want is that combat cache that they're slowly unlocking.
Yeah, it's going to give them a good boost. A little bit of an upgrade. Materials definitely needed. But we joined this game for a reason. We wanted to see Malabuka. We wanted to see Merstash. Well, it may have been just a few seconds there, but we definitely got a glimpse of what we know they're capable of. They just need to be able to find that consistency. With 5 eliminations so far in this game, they're definitely well on their way. And you can see on the leaderboard, about 67 points shy of that first place, and it just goes to show that 1st through 17, even though there's a little bit of a point gap, it's not too far to where one big game could close that gap and give you the first place finish you were looking for.
That's all it really takes. As we look back now, Vision, Marco, up top above what seems to be their opponents, but I'm not sure if they're looking exactly for the engagement and more just the positioning that they currently have for the opposing duos that are going to be rotating through. Trying to get those tags, get that damage, but unable to connect those shots that they were looking for. For Nipsey down below, it's kind of put them in a position where they're unable to see too much, and they always have that pressure from above. But so far, I don't think anything too risky is going to be done here.
Yeah, Nipsey and Jerdy just trying to hold their position. Both of these teams probably wanting this high mountain, not only for the elevation, but the static launch pad that is right there in terms of rotation as well. Giving themselves a little bit of get out of jail free card if push comes to shove. And you see a third team low down the mountain, but the high ground take is going to be there. Nipsey's just still trying to hold on to it as he pushes his opponents down low. A great switch up in position as Marco and Firebro have no choice but to give it up.
Change in elevation, change in positioning for the duos. The tables have been turned around. The fight for the launch pad, though, continues as both duos are going to want to make use of it in the future. Marking the surrounding duos, making sure they're opening more options for those shots as we look back over. Merstash, Malabuka, all they needed was a few seconds to finish up their fights. Will that momentum continue as the snipe gets connected by Merstash, and now going into the box, gets the knock. Just one more player. The 2 versus 1 now. Player advantage for this duo. You know they want to finish it off, though, but be careful. Merstash has cracked 30 HP to work with, but it looks like Malabuka is going to clean it up.
Yeah, that was a beautiful shot onto Merstash to try to, like, back him up. But with the amount of damage both Malabuka and Merstash were able to put down before the fight even began, it's just too much to overcome. They get their 7th elimination, and they're right by Rift Island if they want to take it. So they've definitely given themselves options in this game, and they're doing a good job of closing the gap between them and first place. Wox and Pixie, a duo that did not play together last week at all. It was Pixie and Della. And now you can see with a new duo, a new attitude, what could come of it. They already have Pixel on the run. Debuel is just trying to alleviate the pressure by going and taking the high ground, landing a little bit of a shot onto Wox, but not enough damage to give him the confidence or even back away Wox.
Be careful here. Wox Landing nice shots, but almost getting pieced up. As now the shot's also coming through from behind. Took a peek with the Reaper Sniper, but unable to take the shot. Pixie now looking for angles as well. This is one of the duos that didn't play week 1, Pixie and Walks. So you know that they want to get a good placement here in the Qualifier 2 finals. Or round 4, apologies. With 2 elims on the board already, they don't want to get too risky early on. And it looks like they're just going to recuperate those materials they used, loot up again, and continue on the rotate.
Yeah, it's interesting to see both Pixie and Della going their separate ways for week 2, but both of them find themselves in the top 10. Sometimes it's not necessarily a bad thing. Things don't work out. You have to go your separate ways, and then all of a sudden, it all comes together just like that. Crazy and Enretta, 6 points so far in this game. It's just pure placement points being awarded. But it's the longer this game goes, the natural opportunities for eliminations will naturally present itself, especially where they're currently positioned in zone. You see Rift Island, it's going to have to rotate away from Rift Island eventually, so that could be their opportunity.
Oof, put just on the borderline here of the zone. As we take a look at Anton. What happened in the zone here by Reckless Railways?
Wow.
It was annihilation. 2 elims now on the board. Xander tilted, boxed up, 4 layers up. Very good position in the zone, but no elims to their name.
Yeah, I talked about Rift Island there. Since it's still in zone in 5th, the zone in the half-half is going to pull all the way to the north somewhere. It's either going to be the northwest or northeast, and for teams that aren't necessarily going for it, they have to be cognizant of that fact and be prepared to rotate. As Wax and Pixie, from one fight to the next, they have Assault just pressured up, backed up into a box, and 2 different angles as well, and 2 different layers that they're going after. They're trying to keep their opponents on the ropes. Piece Control is going to go on over, but not enough to give Wax the confidence to keep moving forward.
I'm feeling confidence from this duo, to be fair, though. I mean, they are non-stop playing aggressive over and over again, looking for angles, looking for shots, but as the zone starts to close, 47 seconds until it reaches that 6th zone, they decided, okay, maybe it's time to relax a little bit, take a step back, take a shot as well, as they'll continue rotating along the west side here. But it's not bad to take some shots. Only 8 more bullets, though, in that Reaper Sniper Rifle, so it might be a decent idea to conserve a bit. Not sure how much Pixie has. Maybe can share a little bit. But so far, so good.
Yeah, my only worry so far for this team is the lack of heals that they do have on them. And then about 1/3 of the materials available to walk, so I think if this one continues in the trend and they don't find some sort of a refresh, they're going to have to be on the hunt eventually, as Mustache and Malibuca just build a tower in the sky, trying to give themselves more line of sight, especially that they have that mythic striker, they have that Reaper Sniper, they have definitely a lot of ammunition as well, so it's just about picking that rotation, and as soon as they see nobody still left around Rift Island that they want to make a target, they immediately go ahead and disengage on off. And you notice they're not taking the launch pad, they're not taking the rift, they're just simply rotating on ground.
7 elims from Malibuca and Mustache in 6th zone, round 4. It's crazy, as Pixie now walks once again back into the action. Knocked down 1. Duo partner, though, has gone down. Maybe they'll both make a trade here. You know, I'll let you pick up your teammate, you let me pick up mine. We can make a deal here. As now both duos are going to be picked back up. And I don't know if they're going to continue with the aggression or not.
I think they realized they probably bit off more than they can chew, especially with the zone about to close in. It's all about rotations from here for Vox and Pixie. You can see them going towards the left side of the zone. They're hoping to try to use the natural terrains as a line of sight to where they won't become a target. Rotating parallel with another team, but you still have a 3rd team still on top of Rift Island as well. Just trying to scavenge whatever Malibuca and Mustache have left behind up there, and then probably use the launch pad to continue their way in towards zone as Wax and Pixie. It's just about getting as many materials, as much loot as possible, because for now, it doesn't seem like they're under danger.
For now they're not. We'll see what happens later on. Tajino Uguay looking to see where that duo is that took the Rift by the Rift Island. take some shots onto them. And oh my gosh, Jacob. Malabuka Mustache.
I'm here for it.
What season are we playing in right now? The Skybase is coming through. I love it.
I've never wanted something to work so badly in my life. This is a strategy when I'm playing no matter what. I feel like me and you were playing games the other day. You heard me saying Skybase, let's play for it. Malabuka and Mustache. I'm vicariously living through them now.
Look, I'm gonna be real though, they're kind of lacking on the Skybase strategy. At least, you know, edit the ramp to 1, maybe edit a floor to 2, even a wall, and make it one little beam. I mean, I hope nobody's looking up right now. The question is, how long are they going to keep this up? The zone has pulled decently close, so they don't even have to use a lot of materials to make it there. Even with the sniper rifle in hand, I mean, later on, this could open up opportunities to take those shots, but bullets are coming through just as they get the right builds going. I think they might have just been dropped.
Oh no, okay. Sorry,
Oh, no,
sorry, I just
dropped.
panicked enough for both of them. Oh, they got chopped just like you said. Everything's gonna come crashing down. They probably realize they can't continue their builds. They leave the spot rather early. A little disappointed am I, but now they're gonna make them pay for it.
Oh, and there it is. Big 120 shot knocking down. He said, you knocked down my Skybase, I'm knocking you down. Now it's all up to Assault. The 2 versus 1 as the pressure continues on through. Can they clean it up? They don't need this extra elimination, to be fair. All they need to do is pick up that knock, recuperate the mats, and they are now inside of the zone. The enjoyment of the Skybase only lasted so long. The good news is, still a lot of loot, still a lot of materials. 8 elims, not even in the moving zones yet. This could be a massive match for Malabuka and Mustache.
Yeah, this could be a huge confidence gain here in week 2, right before the semifinals. It can go show that a lot of what you worked on in week 1, because I think they placed a lot lower than a lot of people, including themselves, have expected as they break into the box. Surprise attack coming from above. Assault goes down, but it's like a flare in the sky. They gave away the signal of a fight going down, and in the distance, you see a couple players shooting some shots in that direction. The blessing that Malabuka and Thomas have is those same players are going to have to rotate forward, and those players are Endretta and Crizzy.
9 elims on the board already. Malabuka and Mustache looking to try and make a record happen. You said it yourself, and Dreader Crizzy, though, looking healthy as well. Close to the zone. In a good layer here. Has a lot of openings to take shots on the players they're going to be rotating through now. Zone has started to close. Pressure's on for the opponents making their rotate as Endretta choosing to stay ahead here and take shots on the players behind.
There's a good amount of damage he's able to find on the duo of Uguay and Chino. Put them in a tough spot. It's gonna be hard for them to get out of that position as Malabuka finds yet another elimination. They have 10 so far, 2,300 damage above the threshold. Even when they're under pressure, they easily back out, but they enter the wrong box. There goes Malabuka. That's Mustache that now is gonna be left all by himself, and it doesn't look like he's ready to back down from this fight. Since Malabuka's still left alive, there's an opportunity for a revive, but shots still coming in. Mustache ends up in a weird position, taking too much damage, forced to get on out, but finds a med kit, still has the big shields as well. So it's not going to be long before he's back up into tip-top shape.
Have we spoken too soon? Last flop comes through, med kits are picked up. Malabuka has been sent to watch from Mustache's shoulders here. Will he be able to carry on through and continue the momentum that they had leading into this end game? Looking to see it's Shizo who's going to be getting ahead here early, possibly now building up to maintain height. Looks like it's something they want to do. They're interested, but for how long? 76 above now, making sure to stay ahead. Can they hold it?
Yeah, that's going to be the biggest question, because already you're seeing them very, very light on those materials, just like Pixie with only 1 left. Medkit's going to be popped. 100 HP is all he's going to get. He has no minis, no big pots left to his name. As he sees every duo rotating past, he's just trying to figure out what spot he can grab. And with 1 build left, he might not have no choice but to try to get into the box as well. You see him sneaking, hunting, trying to figure out who you can catch off guard.
Be careful, though. No builds to work with. And there it is. Goes down. Pixie eliminated. Merstash, though, can he be the solo that continues on through? With solo versus solo, there's 7 for Merstash, looking to get that double-digit elim, take over Thomas's throne from the previous matches, as now ahead of zone, building up. More than enough materials, medallion, shields. Merstash has it all.
Yeah, but as a solo, he just has to be careful with so many other players flying by just like this. A chance to retake the high ground is there if anybody's daring enough to go for it. Uguay, Tino, you see them healing up well above the damage threshold. They're just trying to rotate towards the right side of the zone. They're trying to cut everybody off along this path. Luckily for them, they don't have to worry about surge, so peeking is going to be a choice, not something that they have to do at this stage in the game.
11 builds to work with. Looking for the edits, looking for the shots. They know they need an impact frag here. Could it be into Buell and Pixel, or will they decide to continue through? And Dreaded, though, 73 builds, looking more than healthy. Fizzing up each other, continuing now. As the edit comes through, engagement as well. 94 crack, it's the knock. 29 shield to spare. Medkit's being picked up, and now the rotate to stay ahead.
Yeah, that was a good find. The mats, the medkit, even if they were too stacked and couldn't grab, at least they know where one's at. So if they want to try to heal off and go back for it. Merstash still by himself, but loot big enough for a duo, that's for sure. He's just trying to create himself space, running out of builds, running out of time, so he's trying to figure out who he can jump on at the perfect moment. And there goes one well-played shot by Merstash, one to follow. That one's going to be a miss, but at least it clears his path forward as he finds the Buell, sees the mats, wants to go for him, and now he's stuck going in and out of the zone, but finds another elimination nonetheless. The Siphon's going to come through, immediately used to box himself up for safety.
8 for Merstash, 2 more for double digits. Rotate now with the grapple blade. Gets right back on up to the zone. One more opponent. It's 41 white. Not enough. Left at 3 HP. No medkit, no floppers. Hits the shot, though. That's another elimination. 9 for Merstash, and he's still hungry for more.
Quickly dips a toe into the zone, trying to get the mats. Can't take a tick. 3 HP. The medallion's doing work, though, slowly but surely getting those shields back on up, but it's not going to be enough. A well-placed shot could easily take him down. That's why he's going to pop the med kit, but on the other side of this battle, and Reda and Crizzy still going crazy. 7th elimination, looking for more, and Reda gets dropped down low. That's Uguay who gets the elimination, but Crizzy's there to go ahead and get some revenge. Merstash ends the run with 3 HP. He's still picking up a huge amount of points, and he's ready to drop high ground into the palm of his hands. Boyle almost gets dropped down, but Merstash gets sent back to the lobby, all because of it. Meanwhile, Fast Roki backside of zone, can't complete the heal off. He takes down, and there goes the game into their hands.
Polly taking out the final boss of the lobby, and alongside that, securing the victory royale. Both players drop down from above, not even looking for the heal off, looking just for that cleanup, and it's exactly what secured them the VR.
Yeah, and you saw it here. It was Polly play well, dropping down low. They probably knew Fast Roki was healing on the backside of zone, but that wasn't their worry. Let's take Merstash out first, and Fast Roki in the zone will do the rest. Big win for some new players, showcasing our broadcast, but I'm going to see 3 familiar faces break it all down.
Yes, indeed. Alvin and Polly there with a victory royale. We'll definitely be looking at that. I mean, the mustache plays were just absolutely ridiculous. Levin, you called it earlier, so Levin, you were like, oh, it's going to happen. He's clutching. He's clutching. I loved it. It was great. Right, let's look at the victory royale first and foremost here. And our team managing to get themselves, managing to get themselves more points. Managing to manage the game towards the end like that as well. Particularly, Mustache aside, Polly holding the high ground here as well becomes such an important factor, and remaining in the storm to ensure getting maximum pointage from that game with only about an hour left of competition.
Yeah, really nice job from that duo, of course, spraying down. Another duo that we get to see in this format that we haven't really seen too much on this big stage, right? We don't get to see the, all the smaller names coming through in the top 50 formats usually, but now we get to see some smaller names that are starting to make their presence known. I like the way they played that, though, on top of high ground, spraying down, making sure that everyone was expending all of their heals early on. That's why that game didn't go to a heal off for that duo. They just finished it off nice and early, so really great stuff from that team.
I'll be honest, props to the winners, but we have to talk about Mustache, man.
Yeah.
Monaco, listen to me right now. Give that man a pen and paper. let him write whatever number he wants because this is what he does. This is what I want to say. This is why he's my teammate. That's my. I told you I want to play with him. Look at how good this brother is. 11 elims in that game as a solo. I feel like that's symbolic. He's clearly sending a message to me that he wants to play or something. But some of these shots, Mini, some of these plays, every single time you thought surely he's done now, he just kept going.
He kept going and going and going. And if he was to play with you, he'd be in this situation more often than not. So it's good to know that he's able to do it. Look at that. Some of the shots, some of the plays coming through there right at the end. Just every single time he went for a shot, you're like, yeah, I mean, surely he's going to get return fire now. Surely it's going to be over. He hit it right there at the end on 3 HP. He went for that refresh in the zone as well. And I was like, surely not, mate. You're going to go down a storm. Don't do it. Man. He went for it. And it's just that announce that game knowledge, that experience to think, yeah, I'm going to go for those materials. I know how to play this. Beautiful stuff, Levin. Great choice of the teammate.
Thank you.
Yeah, great choice, Lev. Well done you. Well done you. Let's look at another team as well here. Endretta's duo as well are also wreaking havoc in the lobby there as well, making sure to capitalize on some big moments. I mean, Queasy and Endretta, another duo who are desperate to get as many points as possible here, Levin, and the team that eliminated Malabuka as well.
Yeah, Crizzy and Andrea, man, I feel like you look at, Norwegian Fortnite history and they're two names that pop up quite a bit. And so, yeah, I think it's good to see a bit of a resurgence from them. I know they're always working hard to put themselves back into that sort of tier 1 picture and really show what they can do. And it was a decent display from them again. I can't believe I don't want to keep talking about this, but Malabuka and Mustache kind of overshadowed a lot of what we saw there. But nevertheless, these guys, really did well. Stuck together, hit by hit the whole end game, it seemed, Mini.
Yeah, even when they're going for those refreshes, they didn't even need them for a lot of the time. But it just showed they had that confidence there. Was it 8 eliminations there just as they went down? A solid duo performance from these guys. And you can see right now, sat in 46th place. So honestly, not a bad performance from this team whatsoever. They're one of our teams that we do expect to see in and around the top side of the leaderboard. We're not a top tier 1 team, right? So this is a good opportunity for them to try and fix some of those mistakes, to see what they can do at the top of those leaderboards, because I want to see it going into grand finals and of course semi-finals. What can they do?
Yeah, what can they do? I mean, this is the thing. We have a certain team. But I want to look at the standings here as well. Catch you guys up to exactly how things look this late in the competition as well here on week 2 of FNCS Europe Major 1. That's how it currently stands. Mustache and Malabuka, you can see that we've talked about them propelling themselves into second place there. I mean, 41 eliminations at this point as well. In that situation, let me come to you quickly here, Lev. In that situation, Mustache is just going ham. He's going out there. I mean, is Malabuka contributing comms-wise to get at that point, or is he just saying, I'm gonna have a go and have a toasty. I'm gonna have a sandwich. You just do you. You do you, man, and you just go do you. And
you just let them cook. If you're his team, if you're Malabuka there watching Mustache get all these elims, you just let him cook, man. Look at them. They've almost got double the next place. Like, it's ridiculous how much these guys are popping off right now. And to be fair, props to Malabuka. Like, he's the kind of player that can put on that kind of performance himself. So he's probably sat there thinking, oh, I could have done that. I could have done that. Mustache is going to get all the praise. Everyone's going to say Mustache is the carry now, but I could have done that.
He sat there with a big bowl of popcorn. You know that one emo where he sat there just enjoying the spectacle? That's what Malabuka's doing right there, because, yeah, that was something else. We get to see 11th through 20th as well, some of our other names that we've been seeing throughout the day. Another big elimination day for Champ, and, of course, Khan there with 25, so great stuff from those guys. And seeing Dexy and Eclipse as well, a team that I've kept my eye on a little bit recently, performing very well so far, so I want to see those guys improve as well.
Yeah, definitely do. And for you guys watching at home as well, wherever you're watching around the world, the fantastic thing is you're getting a real kind of insight here into, we've seen some insane plays. We saw Thomas earlier on, we've seen Mustache there and other players as well. It's a great bit of insider scoop in how to be the best of the best, because that's why they've managed to deliver time and time again for us here on FNCS. We're going to get straight back into this. We've got an hour and a bit left of this competition today, so let's just not waste any more time. We're joining up with Janice's duo. We'll see exactly where they're at. Let's head over to Carter and to Jacob. They're so handsome. They could be in a boy band. They definitely could be in a boy band. We can all agree that. To Carter, Jacob, what would the name of the boy band be? Let us know. Let us know. Right here, right now. Let's join them.
Thanks, Adam. Look, I'll take the compliment. Not too sure about the name, but I'll take the compliment. A reminder now for everybody, just like Adam said, with just an hour left, the play styles might get shooken up a little bit here, as this is
similar to the qualifying, well, earlier qualifying round formats where you have 10 matches to be played out during a time frame. And now, as that time frame gets shorter and shorter, the players might have some spare matches and they might want to play extra aggressive here. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see a bit more action in the upcoming matches.
Yeah, and just kind of talk about, there's two thresholds and points that we're looking at on the series points. First is going to be that top 50, which currently is an estimated 600 points. And then it's that top 250 after that to make the lower bracket semis, which in terms of series points is around estimated 130 or so points. So it's definitely possible for a lot of these players to squeak in. But with that being a possibility, it means that there's a possibility that players can get pushed out of that same threshold. So in this last hour, people's FNCS journeys are literally on the line.
As we take a look at Thomas possibly cutting that line for some of the duos here. We just saw the match from Merstash. Thomas did something similar earlier on, and it looks like he is not done cooking yet, as he's continuing to pick up Elim after Elim in this match, securing himself even the medallions, the mythic items, and the headshot snipes that we're so used to from this player.
Wait a minute.
His aim.
Is this a replay or a montage? Is it like we got a Thomas HD montage going down right before our very eye? That one hit. We just didn't see it. That one hit too, though. We'll just go ahead and throw that one in there just for the fun of it. 4 eliminations so far. There's still 49 possible. I feel like they don't need a big game here, but Thomas and Queasy want a big game.
Look, I don't even know what they want. They just look like they're having a good time now, wandering around. Does Thomas even know that there's a duo in front of him inside of that box? Because you got to be careful, as you might get a little overconfident here. Has been cracked, 72 HP now. Take a breather. You have the medallion. You have a big pot. You can recuperate that shield you lost. Queasy's just fine. No need to get nervous here. But I wouldn't be surprised if after they heal up, they get right back into it and continue the fight.
Yeah, especially since it looks like there's like a third team just outside of Lavish Layer that's shooting shots in that direction, baking the builds, which they're just trying to force them closer and closer together while getting a surge and potentially taking the team out. Flowberry Fizz is going to be used for Thomas and Queasy. They're either going to rotate or still try to finish this fight, and I think it's going to be the latter. Piece Control going over just like that. Fizz just getting him a little bit too high than he wanted, but back to his familiar territory. Piece Control going all the way over. Shots bleeding through the builds as well. Thomas and Queasy, the aggression is just out of this world, and even picking up the first of possible 2 eliminations here.
Continue with the aggression, but the opponents, they're not fans of that. They want to get out of it. They know that something's not right here. Like we said, it's the last hour. It's the last chance for a lot of these duos to make something happen and put themselves in qualifying range for the upper or lower bracket of the semifinals. Pink and Vico looking healthy with 4 elims to their name as well.
I think we got ourselves a couple superstars in this lobby with Queasy and Thomas, Pink, Vico. This one could come down to a preview of our FNCS semifinals, as Monier and Lunex just healing up right outside of zone. They have the Fizz crash pad, 4 rotates, which means they're gonna waste no time actually getting into the zone when they finally make that rotation to come through. Even looks like they might save it and keep the resources for later.
Fizzing up once again, combining that with the crash pad to fly through the skies here and land right onto Cobra. Turning into a Cobra, almost there with the quick attack from above, as now the third parties are listening. They're hearing the shots and they're taking some from afar as Linux has gone down. Duo partner has been knocked. What's the decision here? Do you keep applying that pressure? Do you try and pick up your duo? 71 cracked. The aggression could come through. Doesn't decide to pick him up just yet. There it is now. Brought him back a couple boxes, but the more time you take, the more your opponents are going to heal up. Making use of that time, though, to recuperate his shield.
Yeah, you see him just trying to make space. You see his teammate drop all the resources in the mats as well, just trying to give him more to work with, knowing that he is by himself. There's no use saving it with the hope that your teammate's going to win. Cobra from one angle. His teammate is taken another. They're just slowly but surely putting pressure, forcing him back towards the zone as well. His options for Monnier are slowly but surely running out. His only saving grace here is going to be being able to outlast 40 seconds to the zone, pushes everybody forward.
Cobra continuing now, getting closer and closer. He has picked up his duo partner though, so it's back to a 2v2, but will the med kit get popped? Will the shields get popped? 22 seconds, and the zone starts closing. The more time they take, the more risky it gets. Their opponents are already rotating to the zone. You can see it on the mini-map in the bottom right. As this might not just be worth it, as now the opportunity opens up. Teammate dropped again, 1 versus 2. Put at the disadvantage. Monet has to play extra aggressive here, and that might have just been the play he needed. Hits the first shot, unable to connect the second though, as now he gets cracked. It's not looking good, taken out, both players eliminated.
Oh, it's just a tough fight and a tough position. It almost creates a situation, even for Cobra and his duo, to almost a no-win scenario. All of their heals used, a couple of minis left, a lot of materials expended, and they still have so much distance to cover. And when they finally get there, it is one of the most stacked sides of the zone as well. So it's going to be interesting to see if they can survive that. But from one team that's having struggles to one that might not be going through those same struggles, Bevy and Pablo Ngu, 761 above the damage threshold. They got themselves a crevice on the edge of zone as well with 4 eliminations. It's all about the waiting game before they have to rotate again.
You can see all the players on the north side of the zone here. Some of them now, depending on where this 8th zone closes, we'll have to make a far rotate. We'll see now. Swizzy Putrick up above still. Pink Vico continuing their tarp, and now we can see that it's pulled southwest. Good rotate for the players on the uncongested side by the south side of the river there. But for the players who are in the pack up north, a lot of danger can arise from this rotation.
I feel like I hear the communication coming out. It almost looked like they wanted to drop on that player below, but they see in the distance everybody that has to make that journey slowly but surely coming over the top of that mountain right into their hands. And Pink and Vico have the choice. Do I continue to spray back, stagger myself, or stay ahead of the zone? They definitely have a decision here, because if they act quickly, they could be the first team to try to take over high ground.
Skymute, Zara, Radion. Actually, this is a duo here that did not compete in week 1, round 4. So they need some big matches here if they want to have a good chance to make it to the semifinals, even the upper bracket. 554 above though. They have the damage they need to feel confident here, but there's still so much more to do to clean up the rest of this match.
It's only about 10 seconds left. The zone comes in. A lot of these players just peeking through a lot of the cones, getting information of where everyone's positioned at, trying to pinpoint the layer change that everybody's been making before this next pull. And if this one goes towards the north, it's going to go down elevation, a little bit of an eastern pull as well, over some water. So if you don't have that grapple blade or some way to rotate, you make sure you have materials, because this one's going to be a roller coaster.
It's going to be difficult. It's going to be a waterfall down the ridge here into the stream, as Swizzy making sure both players are good, healthy, enough consumables. And look at this. Thomas HD Queasy up in the clouds, a sight I'd like to see. Reminder from the past. As 6 elims to Thomas's name, 3 for Queasy. This could be a huge match.
Yeah, we've already seen them perform very, very well on that low ground. Now we're seeing the turn, the high ground, a position that Queasy very specifically is more familiar with. Oh, narrow miss there from Thomas HD with that snipe shot. And a nice shot towards the backside of the zone on the replay. He not only gets 1, but he picks up 2 of those eliminations on the backside of zone. I'm not sure Thomas can be stopped at this point in time.
Zara looking to retake high ground from the duo, but we know how confident they are playing high ground. Queasy leading. The duo's the IGL, knows how to maintain it. But it looks like it's going to be a difficult fight as they continue playing for it. Zara versus Thomas, as Thomas has now been taken down to 36 shield. Will they take the disengagement here as Zara's cracked? 21 gets knocked. Advantage now for the opponents as Queasy
Might have just done it, but his duo partner has been split. Regroup now, continuing to build back up. And they have it once again, but no materials to work with.
Yeah. Immediately find a player that's a solo by himself. Gets the med kit as well. Queasy for a moment there, just trying to stagger himself back. Trades the flopper for the med kit. Even more health for the heal off win scenario if it comes down to it. While simultaneously taking that high ground, Poot, Trick, and Swizzy, they can't have that same comfortability. They're stuck down low in the mud, but they're doing a good job of staying ahead of everybody else. Staying towards the left, but it's the layer above them. There's so many teams that they have to watch out.
Gotta be careful here. Players looking back, holding them, making sure they can stay ahead of the zone here. And just like that, crawling through the dirt, making their way to the front side as Bevy, to Elim's duo partner taken out. Forced as a solo, has that Frenzy auto shotgun. Crucial for these late game moments. 24 builds to work with, now getting closer and closer to high ground, putting himself second height. Want to be careful, not a good way to conserve materials as he's forced back down below on the ridge now. So many duos close by.
Yeah, a lot of his materials being expended. Even gets aggressed on, forced down low, 7 HP. Without a lot of time, he's just staggering himself, causing a lot of chaos, even blind firing the sniper to try to weaken the builds to make it easier to move through. He does a good job momentarily being able to stay alive, but without HP, without materials, that timer that he's living on right now is ticking.
Oh, and Queasy has gone down. Thomas HD forced into solo. The high ground has been overthrown by Janice and Flixie. They are the kings of height in this match, as now another elimination picked up, but Janice gets knocked down. Tui lives on the board, but Flixie now forced as a solo above with no materials to work with is going to need to drop here.
Yeah, and you see him looking around behind him. He knows somebody's in the backside of zone trying to heal off, and those are the things you have to watch out for, especially without builds. Bam-wise down below, him and his duo are the ones who took down Yanis. And it makes it an interesting decision for Flixie because he's given up very, very little audio cues. I think they finally seen him right there at the tail end, but they're not trying to worry about him. Toxics, Flixie is doing a good job of just getting these placement points as a solo.
Do they know? Do they know that Flixie's right on top of them? Will they look at high ground? They don't even know it yet, but they basically have it. All they'd have to do is look up and take that 2 versus 1. Meanwhile, players on all layers thinking, planning, how are we gonna get that heal off? Who has the most med kits? What's the correct decision here? Flixie forced down, has to get an elimination, gets a 108 knock, but taken out. Now, Nippa has one more med kit to work with. Who is gonna come out on top for the heal off? And it looks like it's gonna be Pax and his duo partner.
Yeah, that is a huge win. I felt like there was more fighting in that end game than we've seen so far. Even though it did come down to the heal off, everybody knows their roles. One person plays med kits and floppers, the other one goes on the hunt, and that was a well-placed couple of shots to not only find the opponents but weaken them to make it a possibility.
A lot of the duos in this match decided to play that heal off a bit early. Could be that with those zones, they decided to take or used up a lot of the materials, and it caused them to just play the med kit early. And the end game, I mean, it did not last as long as the previous heal offs at all, Jacob.
Yeah, it almost looked easy, and he was on his last med kit as well. So good job for him being able to close that one out. And you saw throughout the course of that game, Takata, high ground, it was about 3, 4, maybe even 5 teams that changed hands from 9th zone onward. And it just goes to show how risky players are willing to play in order to get those points. But with such a few games left on the day, I'm going to throw it over to Des to let us know where everybody stands.
Thank you very much, fellas. Absolutely right. We can't wait to see the leaderboards, which are going to be changing again, we have no doubt, pretty drastically, actually. We kind of saw this last week. The last week, kind of couple of games, I think, really started to change things up. We saw, I think, Cami and Seti projected like 43 places mini in the last game of the last week. So there's going to be big changes indeed, but good to see players still managing to, you know, the fellas alluded to it, managing their games out perfectly. One person does heals, the other goes and tries to push as well here, and tries to get as many kind of eliminations as possible before their health runs.
Yeah, that's what it's all about. In the mid-ground layers, just fragging out. We can see from our game winners right here. Really great stuff from this duo. You can see just how close they are to each other. That's how you want to play these end games. That's how to maximize the placements coming through. And of course, at this stage in the competition, we have just another potential game for players to play out fully. And then, of course, it's the last last queue of the game. That's why we're seeing players really trying to maximize as many of those placement points as possible. We see players going back in the storm for the med kits as well, trying to play the heal off early. And we saw Reason right there all the way at the top, just trying to maximize as much placement as possible.
Yeah, I mean, I look at the end game, I look at Bandwise and Pax, and I say fair play to them. I thought they played it really strong. They took out a lot of heavy hitters, which is never easy in EU lobbies like this, but they made it work and they pick up the win because of it.
They certainly do. We got to focus again, lads. Thomas HD, he does it again. He strikes back again and again and again. It never seems to end. We're the three of us are going to be in the background in our green room, being like, "What is going on?" This thing happens time and time again. Levin, he's just in the form of his life.
That might be one of the filthiest things I've seen. The highlight before was just unbelievable. And then Queasy and Thomas rolling through the rest of the competition. I mean, we want players to put on a show for us. These guys seem to do it every single opportunity given, man. And this is what, it's not hype, right? I think people see, us talk about the likes of Thomas HD and Queasy all the time. And it's like, come on, man, all this hype. Nah, ain't no hype. They're the real deal.
And they're able to do it so consistently as well, right? We're seeing this consistent placements throughout the end game. We're seeing the eliminations coming through as well. Thomas HD absolutely different when he has that preferred loadout, which they're able to get very, very consistently right now off spawn. So if they can continue that sort of momentum going into grand finals, this is certainly a team to look out for, and a team that a lot of people should have their eyes on because they're two top players, right? They have so much experience, and particularly with what we were breaking down at the beginning of the show, they can play on any layer. They can play in any situation. And when you've got Thomas HD hitting the snipes, who even cares about Search?
Yeah, who are they? I mean, the sniping's outrageous. Let's talk about how they got sniped as well. Janice and Flixie, I believe the team taking them out there. And another team we kind of like started with in that particular kind of moment. And we saw them kind of end things as well, get really close as well towards endgame with an exceptional display again here, Levin. Managing to get eliminations, and where they need to cause weapons, they are taking anyone out of the sky they can, grappling around. I mean, they're a fantastic team to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. Janice ended up getting taken down by the eventual winners of the game, and I thought in this sort of moment here, when really the backs were against the wall, not much to work with, I thought they did excellently. Really, he was being sort of a menace towards everybody here, jumping in and out, a couple shots not too shabby. Dissalim was clean, and then eventually gets taken out. But Janice and Flixie, they're there and thereabouts. We've seen them in a couple of these games now, Mini, where they look like there's something there, right? There is something brewing with them. It's just about when they can have that explosion.
It's that final hurdle, it seems like, right there. We saw Janice going down, a little bit split from Flixie, and it was Flixie all the way at the top that was just making sure to just sneak his way on top of those builds. I said Janice earlier. I said Reason, I mean. Like, everyone is just switching teammates right now. It's actually Flixie that was doing that, right? So I got it wrong. It's Flixie that was ending up doing that. And it was really impressive, actually, the way that the team below him didn't actually look up. I think they just didn't even notice that he was up there. So those extra couple of placement points that he's able to get just shows they're trying to make sure they can make this day really good, because as you mentioned, Levin, they're just not quite there yet with the way they're performing. Hopefully they turn it on for the semis, and of course if they qualify for the grand finals, that's when we need to see this team turn on, because they've got so much experience there in terms of Janice, particularly with the FNCS winning pedigree. He knows how to play, and I'm sure he'll get them primed up for semis and grands.
Yeah, no doubt. Speaking of things we missed earlier, I mean, didn't see earlier, all the players didn't see. That sky bridge from Mustache and Malibu could we even get a chance to talk about again, which was just wild. Let's have a look at our leaderboard and see how things currently stand right now as well, because we are working our way very rapidly towards the last couple of games here. Let's have a look at our standings and who is atop it right now. And you can see, we just chatted about them. They have propelled their way again to the first spot right now. Janice and Flixie sitting way up there right now. And I think Levin, a lot of teams in contention here where they're getting quite close in that kind of top 6 or so. Only about 40 points separate them right now.
Absolutely. I do think we're in that sort of like awkward in-between spot where like once it refreshes in like 4 minutes, it's going to completely change again, right? So I'm not getting my hopes up too much, but a lot of the names here have been, again, there and thereabouts the whole day.
Yeah, and I'm liking to see Moneymaker and Fanayan right there in the top 10 as well. That's a duo that, for when I've been watching them so far this season, they seem to have these sort of hot and cold moments. Of course, Moneymaker doing incredibly well with his live stream right now. He's getting so many viewers. He's always creating the crazy content, but it's nice to see that he knows when to lock in. When it's time to perform, he has that in him just to say, okay, you know what? I'm not going to start singing all the songs. I'm not going to start doing the emotes. Let's actually lock in. Let's actually play the game, and you can see what the results are here, and it's really good to see.
Yeah, you certainly can here. And as you guys allude to it, it's going to change again. I mean, Levin said in a few minutes' time it's going to refresh all over again. But as you saw last week, the penultimate and the last game of the day made such a massive difference to the overall standing. So keep tuned because it's all coming your way. We talked about the sky base. Let's have a look at it again because it's just a thing of beauty. It's a thing of beauty. Let's take a look at this. We saw this earlier on. I mean, gutsy play, and we were kind of there going, "What? No, has no one seen this? Has no one caught this yet?" It was just something, Levin, that we love to see it because it just is entertainment for us. And they, I mean, to drop down as well on a team and absolutely take them to pieces was just something great to watch.
Yeah, I was wondering at first. I was like, hold on a minute, how's he like not placed the build and then he's fallen off? It's because he went to place it as they got chopped out. But I mean, this is the kind of tactical masterclass you only see from the likes of Pilkey and the other goats of competitive Fortnite. So I was very impressed with what I saw there.
Yeah, I mean, I just never knew that Laserbeam got into Fortnite coaching personally. I'm shocked. I'm really shocked. It's great to see. Sky base in FNCS. Who would have thought?
It's the fact that it led to him actually getting in a limb as well.
I know.
And we said it.
Yeah, I know.
We said it. We were like, imagine being those guys and like you just get completely dived on from max height. Like, oh man.
What, wasn't that the game where Mustache Runners get 11 eliminations as well? I don't know. It's just hey, proof's in the pudding there. Right, we haven't checked in with the Polish Panthers once today. We need to do that right now. Cami and Seti are out there and they're on the prowl. Where exactly are they? Well, let's find out. Takata and Jacob bring us all the action. Let's join them once more and see what they're up to.
Thank you so much, Adam. The Polish Panthers back with the nickname. Love it from Adam here. Cami and Seti now looking to show their dominance. We talked about it previously, but a reminder, with just a little less than 30 minutes left to queue up for your final match, these players now are going to be playing extra aggressive. 57 players up already in the 4th zone here. I would not be surprised if we see non-stop action as this game goes on, Jacob.
Yeah, this is just one of those games in the rotation to where there's not a lot of time left to pick up those points. So you might see teams that have a couple of extra games underneath their belt get a little aggressive at this stage in the game, pick up points before they queue into the very last lobby of the day. And that's why you're seeing so many players down early. Even Monier just almost in shambles, trying to back up and heal up. Lunex is there to alleviate some of that pressure this time around and really make up for that last game that we saw where Lunex kind of got taken down twice. Monier tried to save him and just things didn't go their way.
Flowberry loadout, ready to rotate to another dimension with the amount that they have here. Cheat and Vortex kind of taking a peek here. They saw 2 duos down below that are in an engagement, deciding, do we get that third party? Is it the right move? Is it the right play?
Time will tell, and you see this side of the zone just rather empty at this stage in the game. You can see where it's heading. It's over on the west side, but going a little bit south from where we've seen in some of these previous games. Vortex and Cheatin just trying to make their way to a center of the zone as possible. Maybe even get some elevation along the way to make their line of sights that much easier. But I think a lot of players on this side of the zone might have that same plan in mind.
No, Rayleigh. Duo partner. Looking pretty calm, to be honest. They do have 3 eliminations already. Rotating on in now. Not basically any duos close to them. I mean, you can look at the bottom right on the minimap. There's one player to the southwest. A couple duos already based up. But so far, they kind of have the freedom to refarm up those materials that they've used earlier on while they make their way in to the zone here.
And even though they're kind of like building to protect themselves, you can kind of see the terrain. There's nobody really in front of them. And for the people that are, they're so high up. If they were to stay towards the water, they can use that natural elevation and really not be seen. But from the slow side to the fast side, you're seeing where all the players are currently located on the map. Just outside of Pleasant Piazza. About 10, 11 teams in the mini-map alone, which is more than a third of the lobby, which makes it hard for these players to rotate past each other without risking a fight.
A fight might be what a lot of these duos are looking for shortly, though. It's really just dependent on what their game plan is. How many matches do they have left? Do they want to get into that last match? I mean, this isn't exactly a cutoff that they're looking for. It's more accumulating those series points that they might have already gotten in the first qualifier, or might be playing fresh here in the second one. Will they get enough to make it to that top 50 for the upper bracket, or the lower 200 for the lower bracket in the semifinals? Nako, Kire, representing Spain here. Top 3 in the round 3 for this second qualifier. I'm loving the outfits.
Yeah, that's what you got to do, though. Even though they get a top 3, they know the job isn't done just yet. And they have their eyes set on the prize. You can see them looking around. So many teams building fresh builds, which gives away their location. Vital information for Naku. Figure out if he wants to rotate to the top of that mountain or not. It would give him a better line of sight, but it would make him a focus. And it's something you told me last week. If you're already positioned in zone, built up with a full box, you may not want to necessarily waste the match to rotate.
Might not be the play as Nate now taking out the Reaper. But will he get a connection? Already has 3 elims on the board. Taking a look at the surroundings. A lot of action going on the edge of the zone here. Meanwhile, the players like Nate and Lane, who are already boxed up closer to the center, feeling quite calm. But now as the zone has pulled north, the rotations are going to have to come through. You can see Nako instantly choosing to start that rotate, not wasting a second.
Yeah, especially on that left side of the zone. Timing is of the essence. You don't want to get caught behind everybody else, especially those that are staggering themselves for the simple purpose to look for storm surge shots. It's Floki with a near miss with that sniper. Just trying to spot out a couple more players. He doesn't have too much distance to cover. And towards his right in the zone, it is a little bit of a clear area if he wants to go and take the lower ground from some of those other players that already are around in that direction. But you can see Cheatin' and Vortex box to box with another team. And this is what happens when you're this far away from the zone. Sometimes you just have to wait for the players around you to rotate before you can even rotate yourself.
Just 7 seconds left now until the zone starts closing. You can see the amount of players on the edge here as they start getting closer and closer, edging their way into the zone here, not wanting to take any big risks. 6-11 above, grapple blade coming through, but all these duos based up top. It's a 110 though to make them close the window as they continue walking on in.
Yeah, just a huge shot there to alleviate some of that pressure of his teammate. And that's one of the simplest things you can do if you become a focus. Just try to peek shots through. Even if it's a risky play, that means you might take some damage, but you have to do something to stop those shots from firing in your direction. As he spots another duo running by, they're trying to take that same rotation and make it easier so they get in the zone. And that's really thinking outside of the box, recycling builds, leaves it open for his teammate as well. He's so caring and thoughtful and aware of every situation.
That's what I want, man. Good teammate like that. Taking care of you. Making sure you're getting your rotations in nice and safely. As IR Balfo now, 117 above. Kind of below the bridge here, if I'm not mistaken, close to the railway. Kind of stuck on the side of the ridge. It can be a difficult situation, but for Cheated, with that quick knock, can he turn this fight around? It's Nate who's been knocked down. Vortex left with just 20 HP to work with, gets knocked as well. And now it looks like it's all up to Cheated. As a solo duo partner down, drop the medallion, is able to pick it up. Going to recuperate a bit of shield now, but it's not going to be enough shield to keep himself up. Cammy and Seti now, one of the best positions in this lobby, especially if they're able to pull zone here. Fortunately, it looks like zone is going to be fully south, but they will have an opening to take shots on the players rotating in.
Man, luckily for some of these players that are going down at this stage of the game, more than enough time to get into another lobby before they close out. Seti and Cammy, they're just trying to move towards the front. We've seen them have a little bit of a slow start in game 1 of week 1, but definitely have picked up the pace since then. 1,000 over the damage threshold. They're already in comfortable position to where they want to be in front of the zone, looking back. Thunderburst trying to get shots through, but they become the focus from that high ground. And immediately you see them stop in their tracks. Right now they have a focus point of just surviving. They don't need to go big for eliminations because Seti and Cammy are one of those teams. They can naturally pick up those eliminations as the game progresses.
Dirty Nipsey now up above, looking down below. This could be huge for them if they're able to maintain it. 42 players up, 24 duos. The clock is ticking, getting closer and closer to that last match of the day as they continue to build higher and higher. Not as much worries of fall damage with the current mobility items in the game. Noah Ray Aqua forced to heal up with those floppers. Now no more consumables left, and Noah gets knocked down. Duo partner left alone now. Can he get out of the situation? The 2 versus 1. 36 builds. Grapple Blade might just be the savior.
Yeah, he needs to be able to stay alive here. Even though there's another game, his placement, him and Noah, is so crucial. They got 0 points in terms of series points in week 1. So they have to finish at the top of the leaderboard if they want a spot in the upper bracket. But he gets shut down right there. Gets sent back to the lobby, but at least he can get back into another game. Floki and Kyrie, they're trying to use this game to the most effective nature, going to the front side of the zone, going up layers as well. They get aggressed on momentarily, trading shots back and forth before finally trying to disengage. A few seconds of separation between the two, but it's not too much for them to worry about.
Just 129 above. They're comfortable, but not comfortable as they could be. We'll be looking for a bit more damage. Meanwhile, IR Buffo and his duo partner picked up another one. That's 3 on the board now. 61 builds to work with. They are looking healthy. Even spare medkits there. Possibility for that heal off later on if they could stay up. 18 duos still. Staying group, staying close. Keeping that chemistry going. And speaking about chemistry, Cammy and Seti continuing with their wrath. 3 eliminations as they keep pushing through.
Yeah, they even drop down low. They don't want to be on that layer anymore, and rightfully so. They're the ones causing a lot of that commotion. They don't want it to turn right back on them as they reunite into the same box. Cringe trying to drop down low. Nipsey sees that one coming. The battle for high ground is there, but Journey goes down along the way. He continues to try to move up. Ill-advised move, especially without any builds. He gets shut down once more. Nipsey having to think outside of the box. Finds yet another duo he can try to go ahead and aggress onto before popping those shield fish and going right at it.
Nipsey, no builds to work with. Has a good amount of shield now, recuperated, but is going to need that impact frag, that refresh to get those materials. Good use of the grapple blade, trying to get up a couple layers. Unfortunately, bounces, losing a bit of HP to zone, to storm, but he's continuing now to find that option, and this could be it. Not able to get the elimination, but just a bit of materials, and another one is in the box now. Gets that elim. This is huge for Nipsey. Now 29 builds.
Yeah, big amount of points. The mats are just as important as he continues to move towards the front, but finally he gets shut down. That's Noms who go ahead and gets revenge for Dirty early on in this match. Seti and Cammy doing exactly what they do best. Going to the front side, staying down low, shooting towards the backside of zone. They find another knock. You see Cammy trying to run and get all those mats that they just earned to try to keep the pressure on that low ground.
Cammy Seti with the blender down below. Floki now mid layers forced to start playing the heal off. Using those med kits will be able to survive a bit in zone, but not enough to clear out this match. Still a long ways to go as he has to plan his rotate now. No grapple blade to work with either, but for Cammy and Seti, picking up their opponents like they're ingredients for this blender down in the dirt. Up above, we have Cringe and his duo partner as well, ready to play that heal off, but Cammy continuing. That's 5-9 for the duo.
Already, right before our very eyes, you see the win condition coming out. Cammy giving all the med kits to Seti. You know he's going to go for the elimination, but Cringe has 5 med kits of his own as well. This one's going to come down to the wire. Hamas is already starting to get a little too early. Noms doesn't have an option but to stay with the zone along with Seti and Cammy. Top 3 situation. Heal off begins. Cammy's just backtracking along with Seti. He knows they're elimination prone and they try to go for it, but Hobbs gets 1. Seti's still doing the heal off. 4 med kits left. Cringe, the same could be said for him. This one is going to come down to who took more damage early on.
who has it in the bag. They're both at a similar range in HP as well. Same amount of med kits. This is anybody's game, Jacob.
Yeah, I feel like they're going to try to go for the elimination at the very end, but still 2 more left on the respective players. Cringe, he does have a disadvantage, a little bit of a lead going on over to Seti. Last of the med kits is going to be in their inventory as they use their second. This is still going in. 10 eliminations for Seti and Cammy. 11 elimination for Noms and Cringe. Last med kit going to be used for both of them. Seti has the early advantage. Cribs has no choice. He has to start dropping down low. He's probably wondering, how does this player have so many med kits? What is going on? There goes the final attack. Seti goes up. Cringe with 10 HP out of nowhere. You got to imagine with the lead that Seti had. Storm Sickness playing a huge role. He falls and Cringe steals the game away.
The closest, the longest heal off we've seen to today's date, and the player coming out on top with just 1 tick left, 10 HP, and secures the victory royale.
That is a huge moment right there. It's one of those that makes you really second guess what is actually going on. And typically in past games, they went for the elimination. They didn't want to let it come to a heal off, but they had about 5 med kits each. They didn't think this was going to be a possibility. As soon as Seti ran out, he tried to go for the elimination, but it was just too little, too late for Seti. Cringe and Noms really just stole away that game, and it was picture perfect.
What a way to end that off. That was insane, Jacob. I mean, I was looking at the HP, both of them in a similar range, both of them with 5 med kits, and it came down. I thought it was going to be a quick 1v1, but the player that came out on top in the end was Cringe, like his duo partner, playing height during the whole end of that match there, and Cammy and Seti as well. They were dominating the low ground, Jacob. Elim after Elim, fragging out with still enough medkits to play the heal off. What a match.
No, it definitely was a big match. There was a lot of moments throughout that match that you saw not only our superstars, not only our players that have all the series points already, but some that needed that big game. Even though they went down early, Noah and Aqua picked up some points. I'm going to keep talking about them until we go to the very end because they need those series points if they want to continue their FNCS journey. But with such little time left on the day, let's go throw it at Adam, Mini, and Levin one more time to see how they feel about the games.
Yes, thank you, boys. Honestly, we're so close. We are so close to the end of this now. Kind of finding out exactly how our points are going to tally up here. And you guys with us the entire time here. We talk about storylines, about narratives, and each of these competitions here, Mini. And I think that's what we kind of get so invested in as well, our players. And that's why we share with the audience at home all the time exactly how things are and who's been with who, which duos have changed, this and that. Because it adds so much more to the overall kind of like tale, the legend that is FNCS.
Yeah, and for narratives to happen, you need some underdogs here and there, right? And it was Cringe and Noms who are the underdogs of the story of this game. Fantastically played right there to not only play the heal off, but also have the thought ahead of time to not take any storm ticks or as little storm ticks as possible, because what happened right there, Levin, it was all about storm sickness. Seti took a little bit too many storm tags, so they had that storm sickness earlier than Cringe, and that's ultimately what happened right there. They went down, and that's an unfortunate way to go down for Seti, but I'm sure they'll live.
That game is the perfect example of Fortnite at the highest level is down to the finest margins. I mean, the heal off there between Seti and Noms was so close, but Seti had the slightest advantage. In theory, they play out their medkits, Seti should just win that game. 1 tick of the storm sickness, it's almost painful if you're Seti and Cammy, but ultimately Noms gets the dub, and they played it incredibly well.
They did. I mean, it makes you wince. You're kind of like, it's so close. Let's have a look at Cammy and Seti in more detail, though, as well. Now, obviously, we've another team like the ones we mentioned earlier in the competition that we have talked about so many other previous FNCSs because they just always manage to find the perfect way to get themselves into those final positions. And Mini, what is it they did in this particular game that you kind of thought was particularly, worth watching for the audience at home here to take note of for future too?
I mean, we've seen them go for low ground, we've seen them go for high ground, but this time they're going for that sort of mid ground layer. You can see why, of course, the zone was just so topsy-turvy, ups and downs. You don't know where the zone was going to go, so they had to play those higher elevated areas right up until the end here. And again, we're just seeing typical Cammy and Seti fashion. They set themselves up for that heal off, but it wasn't quite enough. As we mentioned earlier, the Storm Sickness had its part to play right there. And again, it's just really nicely played from this Geo. Not having the best day, you can see right there, currently placed in 115th. They had a really good week last week. Not quite playing at their best level, but I think they have more to give throughout this season. They're one of those sort of teams that kind of does hide away some strategies until the big moment sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we're seeing this week an example of just why we always talk about them being so adaptable. Last week, Cammy was the one doing the heal-offs. Last week, Cammy was leading at times in endgames. Yeah. This week, in that game we just saw, at least Seti was leading. Seti was the one doing the heal-offs, right? This team is not a team where everything is hard and set in stone, and I think that's sometimes why you see a bit of variance. But ultimately, Cammy and Seti are never a team you worry about come grand finals. They're going to be there, and they're going to perform.
Yeah, they'll be fine. We believe. Let's see where they fare right now, actually, on our leaderboards and how things have changed, as they always do here on FNCS. Each of our games, you can see here that currently at the top spot there, Mappy and Della on 33 eliminations with 319 points there, getting an obscene amount of placement points. We talk about consistency here, Levin. 253 is a whopping great score today to ensure that you are always getting to that end game.
I mean, it might be an understatement, right? It's really good from what we've seen. I will notice, again, not to toot their horns too much, but even after a couple games, still nobody's caught up with Malibuku, mustaches and limbs, right? But no, look, Mappy and Della are a team that I'm super excited about. Mappy's always been this player, right, where, you know, you ask all the Swedish community, who's like just unreal, and they all go, yeah, Mappy's crazy, right? And it's like, we're still waiting for that big sort of I am him performance in the FNCS, and I think this is a good sign that maybe it's going to come this year.
Yeah, I mean, this is a duo, remember, that didn't actually end up making it into the finals of week 1. So we talked about it at the beginning of the show. Some of the teams, they need a big performance. They need a clutch performance to get themselves into the upper bracket, even some of them for the semi-finals. So this is a definition of a clutch performance and doing it really well.
Doing it very well indeed. Right, there's not much time left on our show. We got get as many games in as possible, many end games for you as well to see here. So we're gonna jump straight back into the map with Takata and Jacob here, catch up with iDrop and Nebs and see how they're faring.
Adam, I don't know if I can take this much more excitement. I'm running out of breath. I'm running out of energy here, but I am ready for it, particularly seeing Nebs and iDrop. Last week, they're performing pretty steady, pretty consistently overall, finding some good eliminations, but I think it's the mindset of a lot of our superstars in the region. If you're not first, you're last in their head, so they may not take it in stride as, you know, some of us would.
Look, the mindset for this game, Jacob, is aggression. 44 players up. Third zone just turned into fourth zone here, and you can see Neb's iDrop. They are going straight for that aggression, continuing their momentum with their 5 elims. They want to make it 7.
Now, this is a good opportunity to do just that, especially with iDrop already in the box. Nebs is trying to alleviate the pressure, runs into Alex. Shot's going to get fired, but it's not a ton of damage. iDrop's able to get one, but it comes at a trade, 1-for-1. Nebs by himself. He has a huge advantage in terms of the health, and he uses it wisely, but he cannot go ahead and figure anything out from there. He's already aggressed on by the third party, and they take him down with ease. Those are the opportunistic moments that we look for.
39 players up now, 21 duos, and we are just getting started. This is going to be interesting, Jacob, as the players continue with their momentum now. Howley, Nefrizzi in the storm. Looking like they do have the grapple blades, though, so they're going to make it right back into the zone here. And even making use of some of the slap barrels here. Get that stamina, get that HP, and continue going.
They're also going to get the gold. If the vending machine has anything left inside, they can get themselves some big pots, some med kits, or just heal up. The choice is definitely theirs. Just outside of fencing fields, we got another fight going down. Gooden and Vake can just enter the box, take down their opponent. And you see the duo just in the distance. Thank God, just trying to get out. He's just trying to stay alive. You see a whole nother team third party in that direction. Vaken takes the brunt of that damage before it even starts.
Take a look how Gunbury here was able to secure that quick elim. Nice little shots connecting. As now fizzing up his teammate here. Both recuperating that shield that they'd lost. And now getting ready in the fencing fields. continue forwards. You can see the players close by using those grapple blades, and they're hungry. You can tell.
Yeah. They know that he's separated, possibly think that he's weak as well. Shots coming in, but that's not really going to scare him off just yet. Still going for that piece control. Jakey's playing very, very defensive and gets out of the box, but just too many angles are being hit at right now. Finally, they reunite in the same box. A missed opportunity, a missed shot, but he's still going to come up with the down anyway on Gudenbreath. Jake's there. He's going to get knocked, though. Mystic's going to be the last one left, and the more this one goes on, the third parties become more and more of a potential threat. As Vacant just doesn't want to let that early damage go out the window. One well-placed shot from either one of these players will end this fight, and they'll be able to come out on top.
That's all it takes, that one big shot. Vacant hitting the ramp, though. Ricochet, it's not on the player. Continuing in, though, has the ball, has the edit. But his opponent continuing to run, continuing to disengage. But for how long can you disengage when you have someone like Vacant chasing you down? Lower HP, but it's not a problem until Mystic hits that huge shot, ending it for Vacant. 5 elims now as another duo wants to join the party.
The fights do not stop here, at least not just yet. From one fight to the next, this one deep in towards the zone. Medkits are going to play a huge role. Medkits being revives being attempted on the other side. Toos goes for the heal instead. The shot almost goes through from Romix. Toos firing back. Medkit's still there for both of these players. The HP is low. Romix cannot go for the revive, so he might actually go down altogether, and this might end up in a simple 1v1. And if you look at the minimap, somebody's like, hey, there's a party going on. Why didn't I get the invite? And they're making their way over as well.
Making their own invite, coming in uninvited. As Toos now continuing to take those shots, has another med kit, so does not have to worry too much about the timing here. Picking up what's left over from the loot, and there it is, 104. It's not enough, though. Just a few more seconds in zone, and his opponent will go down. There it is. But just like you said, Jacob, the uninvited player has arrived at the party. Continuing now, the second 1 versus 1. Big gets popped, one more medkit left, and they're going to stay in zone.
Yeah, the Nemo just say, you know what, you're right. Let me just continue going forward. If he has his reboot card, him staying alive as long as he has, and this being relatively early on in the game where not too much damage is being taken, at least not to this next zone, he has a chance to try to get his teammate back up. And that's the one thing that you got to at least give yourself credit for, is an opportunity. As you see a team just rotating in the outskirts, and since they're this far out, unless you're really focused and looking in that direction, it's going to be hard to see him.
Yeah, swimming in the water. I mean, edge of the zone here. This could be a duo that's just trying to scavenge up as much placements as possible from this aggressive lobby here. It's kind of relaxing in a sense. I mean,
go a little swim.
Swimming around, but looking now back at some of the players are a little less relaxed outside of the zone. With the aggression coming through, the 2 versus 2. Both players getting cracked, but one of them coming out on top there. It's Raidkin and his duo partner who are forced to pop up those medkits, but now 9 elims. This is massive.
Yeah, a huge point game. And they have to continue to play this one out. Lobbies are going to begin to close, so you have to make every bit of this game count. You know, whether if it's elimination or simply playing placement, it's gonna be one of the last opportunities you have to get those points, solidify your position on the leaderboard, and hopefully gather enough series points to keep your FNCS journey alive.
Hallie Nafrizi taking a lot more of a relaxed approach to this match. 2 elims on the board, almost full materials, as Nemo is there hiding behind them as a solo. Who will find him first? As Scroll and Mew, edge of the zone, also hunting.
Yeah, just on the outside of Hazy Hillside. They don't necessarily have to rotate too far, especially when you kind of count all the teams in front of you. It'll be less and less congested for each one that passes. So they don't want to give up their position just yet. They're not just on the crevice zone. They're a little bit deeper inside than that. Not everybody having that same comfortability, though. Kervino and Toos. Bananas, coconuts, apples, spinach, anything to get your HP back up and save that med kit.
Get those vitamins. tropical smoothie as the med kit is the final touch here. You can see there's not too many duos close by. A lot of them already in the storm, but it's also mixed up with there being so much aggression that there just isn't as many duos in general on the map. 16 of them to be exact. And it looks like some of the duos here are just trying to secure placements. Howley, Nefrizzi, though, might want a bit more than placement, as they have been playing a little bit more aggressive here.
See them just biding their time. A lot of these teams that are already in zone, they don't necessarily have to make a move, or at least don't have to forcefully make a move that they don't necessarily want to be in. And you can see him looking up, spotting out a couple players around, information that he's sharing on over to Nefrizzi. He has to know Toos and his duo over on the outskirts as well, so he knows at least 3 players are stacked right on top of him. And if he looks in the distance, he saw another one rotating by. So it's all about formulating that strategy on your rotation, knowing exactly where everyone's positioned at.
Zara, though, and his duo partner, legendary and mythic loadout, looking incredibly healthy, have been staying on the upper half of the leaderboard despite not having qualified in week 1. Looking to see if they can recuperate all of that in just the second qualifier, and so far they've been doing a great job of it. 9 shots left for the Reaper sniper rifle. Already connected one of them, but he wants to connect that headshot to make it that much more meaningful.
Yeah, Zara, Radion, in terms of their points. If
Oh, no.
No. That's not what you want to have happen.
It's the wrong way, Zara.
And then you got to just keep going. That's not what we want to have happen, especially considering the position that they're at on the leaderboards. They're within range of securing their spot for the losers semifinals, but it's all about getting that upper bracket. You have more chances in general to reach the grand finals through playing through the upper bracket instead of the lower side of things. So they still need to pick up some points in their last opportunities here on the day. I got to imagine elimination crazy is going to be the goal if they want to pick up those points. But it just all depends if they even know their position on that series point leaderboard as well.
Mark Sisakiv just cleaning up an engagement here. 6 on the board. 8th zone has appeared. It's up north. Quite a few duos will have to make that rotate. As now another attempt by a different duo here. Crashbat. Possibly no Flowberry being used here on this rotate. But you got to be careful with the duos looking back at you, knowing that there's a crash pad there, just waiting for the moment to strike. And they've realized that, deciding towards the grapple blade rotate instead. And it looks like it's worked out.
Yeah. Good job thinking outside of the box. When one thing doesn't work, they continue to try. They grapple their way towards the zone regardless. 8th moving. Depending on where you're at in resources, now would be the good chance to try to at least threaten height. Let other teams know that you're on notice if that one's going to come through. And K-Bism just shooting down below. 42 points, 10 eliminations so far. This is the last chance for some of these teams to get as many points as possible, move up that leaderboard. And for some, you'd think 10 is enough, but for others, it might not be the case.
Really depends on what situation you're in on the leaderboard, being 250 duos competing today in this round 4 of the second qualifier. The Sky Mew now continuing with those shots. One player gets knocked, but there's so many duos close by, you do not want to get close to that. It's a caution zone that you want to stay away from. As they continue looking around, found the solo, but it's another duo that's going to take the loot. Can they scavenge anything is the question.
Yeah, that was Howley who just snatched that one away at an opportunistic time. Zara and Radion just trying to get into the box. They're trying to move up those series point leaderboard by finding Nemo and taking him out. And they continue to move forward. They have so much space right now due to those early game due to those eliminations in general and the mats that they were able to pick up. They built themselves a nice bridge across. And you can see high ground already cementing their position as well.
Howley now, Nefrizzi. You see them looking around, looking for opportunities. This could be one. He does not know that his opponent has no shield, but he does know that he's in an engagement and could open up that option for a drop down. Tries to get it, unable to box up his opponent, but the second attempt lands. That's a knock for Howley. Gets the full finish. 2 now on the board. 4 total for the duo. Toos, on the other hand, continuing in the storm. Gets another one. 10 duos up now, just 19 players.
And he finds resources, even gets the medallion, but it's the HP that he needs most. Going to the front side, trying to lead the path for him and his teammate. They get a moment of fresh air as they reunite, but Mew and Skrull still on the hunt. They're trying to find another team they can catch off guard as they move forward in towards the zone. They know one's above, one's below, and they just trying to cut these players off. That's going to give them the flexibility to look back and then find the eliminations that they're looking for.
Tarped ahead of zone. Mats have been used, but they've made it. Ray Quinn up top in the clouds now, shooting down. Trying to land what they can. Double-digit elims for the duo. Gets chopped, though. It's Howley. It's Nefrizzi. They don't want to overtake it. They've gotten the chop down, but they're just going to continue looking up. They need to create another opportunity. Zara, though, looks like it's fighting it. Have they found the right moment to strike?
Yeah, they're at least keeping them on notice. Nice job right there from Radion to try to save it all yet again, but it comes coming down, and they actually find the eliminations on the way down as well. Howley's going to get credit for both of those, and just like that, in the blink of an eye, high ground changes hands, but they get two separated. Toos is down low. His teammate gets dropped. They get sent back to the lobby. Mew and Skrull, they're just trying to stay ahead of all this chaos that is behind them, so that way they can pop any heals that they need, but pressure from above, pressure from below. They're forced to displace out of their position and find a new home.
Ingredients in the center of a sandwich. They cannot get dropped here with the zone going up. They have to maintain their layer. They can't take shots down below, though. So many duos applying pressure, but all they need is to stay up here. 4 builds, 1 build. No more materials from you here. Can he make something happen?
Yeah, players are falling left and right to our final 6 teams. To the backside of zone, Mew goes. He's just trying to get the material. He doesn't pick up much. It wasn't a sacrifice that was worth. His teammate gets dropped. Now the flopper is going to be popped. He's trying to go ahead and stay as long as he can as he goes down. And there was a massive amount of heals towards the backside of zone. I could only hope Nefrizzi and Howley were able to spot those out, because that is a big win condition as this one closes out.
Lavero Nika. Looks like they're controlling the dirt down below, the low ground. But meanwhile, the high ground duo is healthy. Another player gets dropped. It's now a 2 versus 2. High versus low. Is it going to be an all-out engagement? Is it going to be a hail off? It looks like it's the aggressive option here as the fight comes through. Just one quick shot is needed for one of the players down on low. Gets chopped, and here it is. 2 shots connecting. One by Howley, one by Nefrizzi. And they pick up that quick VR.
If you looked up patience in the dictionary, Howley and Nefrizzi will be right there smiling, because they waited for that moment to overtake the high ground. They staggered themselves back. They did a little mix of everything, including finding those eliminations outside of zone to get the material to eventually take over that height. Well played for them. And you can see the confidence building right before our very eyes as they get more and more aggressive to close this game out.
You can see they were so close to the double digits, and with those last 2 elims, they secured them. Double-digit elim victory royale. What a way to bump themselves up the leaderboard, but we are going to bump ourselves over to Adam, Levin, and Mini to break that all down.
Yeah, thanks very much, Takata. Indeed, Nefrizzi and Howley go through again with their penultimate win, the Victory Royale. Maximizing points ahead of our our final leaderboard standing is coming our way very soon after one last game, which is right around the corner. But 11 again, you know, 0 mats, a 2v2 kind of classic ending to a Fortnite battle there, and yeah, Howley and Nefrizzi come out on top.
Yeah, really impressive game from Howley and Nefrizzi. I mean, when Howley first burst onto the scene playing with Eltenzi, he was a player that showed he's got lots of talent, but this end game really showcased a lot of him, and he plays these end games like he's in a creative lobby, you know, playing Forever Zone Wars or something. Just no care in the world, and really, really nice plays, a bunch of eliminations. Mini, I was really impressed by this game.
Very impressed, particularly by that height take as well. That was really nicely done. They kept patient, as Jacob said right there at the end, even earlier on in that end game, not just for those final elims. They were looking for that weak spot, and more importantly, they sprayed further back into the storm, which just made it so the team that were on height couldn't reconnect easily. Really nicely done, and that's, of course, what won them the game and pushes them up the leaderboard.
Exceptionally well done. You can see here as well. We take a look at our standings. Things are ever changing, as we know, folks. But look at the top there. We see Chapman and AIM with 48 eliminations. 11. That is a serious score on this week 2 of Major One's FNCS Europe.
I mean, what can you say, mate? You know, it's a lot of LMs. Let's just say that. It's a lot of LMs. I mean, we saw them earlier, man. They're capable of it, and that's what they go and do. And so, yeah, no surprises for me, really.
They hit the W key. That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
We got some more action coming out, I'm sure. But, you know, we're going to see an exciting duo right there.
Yes, we are indeed. We're going to rejoin Nebs and iDrop for our last game, it seems, here. Let's see how this one ends up. Who will be the last victory royale of the day here in this lobby? Let's find out. Takata and Jacob are ready, waiting in the wings. Over to you, boys.
This is it, Jacob. The last opportunity. Chapter 5, Major 1, last qualifier and last chance in the last match for these players to make it to the semifinals. A reminder, based on the series points from these duos, they will either be able to qualify to the upper bracket in the semifinals if they are top 50, and if they're in the lower 200, they'll make it to the lower bracket of the semifinals, and that is what these duos are competing for today, and this is their last chance to make it happen.
Yep. For some, it's about holding on to your spot in the uppers. For others, it's about taking over a spot in the upper bracket. And it's going to be a nail-biter finish for some, because just looking at the different thresholds, there's a lot of players in this, not necessarily in this game, but in the top 250 still fighting for it. Fordoxy and Trippin getting a huge elimination there just outside of zone, which kind of allows them to pack a punch. You got to match with 5 total eliminations as a team. Storm Surge has to be going well. They have heals in the floppers. They have more than enough to work with when they want to make this rotation in terms of crash pads and that Flowberry Fizz. They're definitely set up quite nicely.
Quite nicely for the nice little jump it onto the engagement. It's Trip, but his teammate has tripped and fell. Fordoxy gets knocked down. Now the 1 versus 2, but it looks like Trip could just come out on top here. One more shot needed to connect to take out one of his opponents, but now he might have just went for the passive route here. The issue is his duo partner, I don't know if he's going to be able to get him up in time while his opponents are just healing up now. Back to 100 shield, back to 100 HP, but he has recuperated the loot and disengaged here. I was hoping he was just going with confidence there.
I like the thought process behind it. Instead of trying to battle it out, use your heals, going for the revive, potentially in this 1v2 going down as well. Trip is just letting Fordoxy go down, getting that reboot card with the hopes of getting him back in the game later on. But you got to take note, a lot of these games are going to heal off as well. Every second Trip stays in the zone is a second less that he can play the heal off later on in the game due to Storm Sickness.
We'll see what ends up happening here as Trip now is just kind of waiting for his opponents to disengage here. And like you said, Jacob, reboot card in hand. We'll find an opportunity to bring him back. We're in the 5th zone, 31 duos, 59 players. It's a bit more stacked compared to the last game. And now the reboot attempt will come through.
Interested to see if this team can kind of come back from getting rebooted and have a big day. They're already high up on that series point leaderboard, so for them it's about conditioning and practice and reps in these different styles of lobbies. Diox and Cade, 4 eliminations, landing over towards Snooty Steps more times than not in these lobbies, and they're not afraid to get aggressive when push comes to shove. And you can see where they're positioned right now on the map. They only have a few teams around them, and with the grapple blade, it's not too hard for them to cover distances and get out of there.
This is the most relaxed I've seen Diox in a while, alongside Cade. Looking like some mountain goats there on the side of the hill. Splash, though. Has he been left as a solo? I'm not sure. Trip, like we saw, able to bring Fordoxy back into the match. But now they will be making it into zone a bit later. They're actually choosing to use a lot of these heals that they have, the floppers, the med kits, to get a better rotation into the zone and maybe even recuperate some of the loot that was left over from that engagement. Luckily enough, being the 6th zone, they do have the time to spend in zone here.
You can see it's like the rotation that they kind of patented, but without the flow berry or the fizz. It's definitely going to be much harder to cover that same distance. It's a little bit of a messed up from Trip, forcing out first of a couple med kits. They definitely fought to give themselves this position in the game. Right now, they're going to be able to easily make it in towards zone. He's setting the crash pad up yet again. He's just trying to minimize the amount of HP that he's taking. That way, he can possibly give over that med kit to Fordoxy. Oh,
Round 2 worked out well. Med kits in both players' hands. And they saw on their west there, they do have 2 duos based up. Diox decided to move up early as well. Meanwhile, Giraz, Chari taking shots of the duos that just rotated on in. Eye drop though, without Nebs as a solo, 91 below, putting himself into this engagement while the third parties are taking shots. It's not the place you want to be in this last match.
Yeah, he made a quick play right there to try to steal away some of the loot of his fallen teammate Nebs. Just trying to keep himself back up. Maybe if he has the reboot card as well, but the opportunity is close but surely to try to get his teammate back into the game. And he's taking this time to try to rotate when the zone opens up the top of the mountain where not too many teams are currently positioned at. But he gets tagged up along the way, which means he has to pause so that way he doesn't risk going down overall.
Let's take a look here. What happened to Nebs? I'm curious. As he played extra aggressive here, we can see. Got a nice piece, but the duo is going to be the one that did finish him off. Damage was done, but not enough to get a knock. As we go back to Fordoxy and Trip, who are looking incredibly strong in this match.
And it almost looks like you would have never guessed joining in that these guys were taken down at one point or another. 7 elimination, max mats, a great loadout. Only thing is they still have to cover so much distance before they find the safety in towards the zone. And this is exactly how they got back into the game, crouching through the bush with the pre-edited walls. There goes one, down goes the other. And just like that, they're back in.
Back in. As Diox now is trying to get back into the storm here, the zone. Apologies, as now those duos that we saw based up on the edge are going to be the ones applying the pressure. Here they do not want to get cracked, as it will just cause more and more duos to keep taking shots. They know how dangerous this position can be. But it looks like they've lasted off well. All the duos you can see at the bottom right now making their rotate on in. Storm Surge ticker is appearing. So for the duos that have not done enough damage, it's going to cause those stress levels to rise. Hopefully they won't panic, but you might just have to make some risky plays.
I'm hoping we get a train end game. I'm hoping we get in and just crashes right through everybody and see how everybody reacts in real time to something like that happening. But only time will tell if that comes to fruition. We're moving south on the map further and further down. You can see Crow and Jose, I should say, moving down the mountain a little bit. They already have their box set up to where they're gonna rotate to, but they immediately go to the backside of zone, just trying to catch anybody off guard, rotating from point A to point B.
Other duo representing Spain, Jose and Crow. No elims on the board, but still able to make it happen, especially if zone pulls up north, and there it is. This could be what they needed. They have an incredible zone pull here. Looks like they're the only duo, basically, on the side of that hill. There was one more, a bit higher than them. Now they have all the freedom to take shots of these duos that have to rotate in, like Wheat and Shimoki. How much HP does Shimoki have, Jacob?
1.
That's gotta be 1.
That's
gotta be 1.
Not even a full HP, at least that's what it looked like. And he's gonna have to play confidently, like he has more HP than that. But at least it's not a max pull for him, so the rotation is gonna be a little bit easier than it could have been if it was. But everybody beginning to rotate before Shimoki and Wheat, which is gonna make it that much harder for them to find that sweet spot inside of the zone.
Grapple Blade getting put to good use. No shots connected onto Wheat yet. Shimoki, though, multiple shots connected onto him. Still up, though, somehow, but I spoke too soon. Has been knocked now. Wheat left alone. Duo partner in the dust. No heals to work with. 37 builds. But it's the thought that counts.
Yeah, eye drop high up on the mountain by himself. He got there so early when Nebs got taken down, which gives him this flexibility. You can see him building 2 layers wide, making sure he looks bigger than he actually is. That's going to be the key for his survival, especially at this stage. It's only top 20 left alive. There's barely any points being given out for placement. A lot of that, at least the lion's share of their points, is going to be coming through eliminations at this stage in the game. So every duo that eye drop can out survive, that's going to be more points to their total.
eye drop pulls zone as well, with the opponents thinking that it's a duo up there. This could be huge for securing placement. Wheat now 1 shot away from taking out Zekro, as now he has to plan his rotate, grapple blade in hand, looking to see the options. What are you going to connect to, Wheat? Which is the correct path?
I say there's really not a ton for him to work with. There's a lot of the players that are in that same position going around the right side before they go over, trying to give themselves elevation as eye drop is building it for himself. Only one team kind of looking in that direction, and they become a target from eye drop, and this is where the different elevation changes is going to cause a lot of commotion towards the low ground, to where it's not going to give a lot of opportunities for people to look up at eye drop. This could be a perfect storm that is forming right now for him.
Trip for Doxy still looking incredibly strong. Chemistry is there as they're playing grouped up. This is a dangerous layer to be in, though. Quickly gets himself out of that sticky situation, as now the regroup needs to come through, but they see some opponents taking shots. Wheat still up in the grass now. Back to his natural habitat, 493 above. Only 4 builds to work with.
Yeah, he's just biding his time, trying to play as calculated as possible. He knows a couple teams are to his left. It's going down the mountain as well, so if he waits for them to go ahead and go first, that'll give him a lot of builds and places to hide. But with a couple of shots and a couple players going past and without any builds, I was going to say that was going to become worse, but a down through the sky. He's able to clean that one up. A huge refresh in terms of materials. He got 500 wood from 4 to 500.
40 builds to work with now. Zone keeps closing towards this hill, though, so Wheat has to continue with the grapple blade, rotate, drop down below. Eye drop still maintaining the high ground as a solo, as now Wheat is forced into an engagement, gets taken out for Doxy Trip as well. Another duo knocked down. Eye drop, though, up above in the clouds, looking like a duo, looking like a storm from up top as he continues taking shots.
Yeah, and he still has a decent amount of builds left on him as well. He can try to hold on to the position. Firing shots through the sky. Another elimination is going to be cleaned up in this late game. Still has his eyes set down below. Drops down to follow along, but still maintain that high ground. But by himself, he has to watch his own back. Iris and Chari, they're trying to go in forward. Diox only has a sliver of HP left. A huge find of a shot is going to take them down. But Gears has a lot of damage put on him and no time left to pop the shields. That's going to make sure that he falls, which puts a lot of pressure on the Chari, who also falls shortly after. Everybody going down in mere seconds.
Cade now continuing the momentum. Lost his duo. Diox eliminated. 5 elims for Cade. Double mythic in the loadout as eye drop is still up above as a solo. Is he going to be able to maintain it for the whole end game, start to end? The solo high ground take is now the contestation comes through. Just 3 builds to work with. He needs an impact. He needs a refresh, and that could be it.
That
Picks
could be
up
the
the
moment
materials.
right there. That's a huge amount of materials that he's finding this late in the game. It's not 500 by any means, but it keeps his position on the high ground intact. Top 6 players are falling left, right, and center. There are 4 solos running around on that low ground. 2 full teams, but it's eye drop who seems to have the most control.
Control of the game. 1 player, as now chaos unfolds down below. Pure action as players start dropping lower and lower now. The shots come through. Medkit's being popped. Who's playing heal off? Who's going for the elims?
This is it. Heal off begins towards the backside. Eye drop still doing wonders as a solo. He's even following zone. That's going to give him more time on his one. Medkit for the height. That's going to be a big shot fired from above. Medkit has to be started now. No time to get the shields back. Top 3. Another player's going to go down. Everybody's left from solos, and it's eye drop by himself versus... He takes it out. He wins it by himself. Zone after zone. Eye drop clutches up big, and he takes the game. I've never seen anything like it in quite a long time.
Eye drop, are you kidding me? From first moving zone as a solo, takes high ground, controls it for the rest of the moving zones, and ends it up with a victory royale. What a solo play from eye drop.
calm, cool, collected, the patience, and the perfect storm of that zone moving down the mountain. We've seen that a few times on the day. When it goes down the mountain or up elevation like that, you cannot focus on shooting the high ground. So iDrop was able to smooth sail across zone after zone after zone, eventually finding that elim towards the backside and the med kit to take the game just like this. A huge round of applause goes to Nebs and iDrop.
11 total elims for the duo. Victory Royale on top. What a way to close it out, Jacob. You know that iDrop is feeling good right now.
iDrop's got to be feeling good, but Neb's got to be feeling even better. I could go down way early in the game, and hey, now he has the confidence in his teammate to put up some prime time plays during prime time on the broadcast. I give a huge round of applause for iDrop, but man, this has been one great day of games, Takata.
Look, Nebs had a first-class seat on iDrop's back in that last match. But that's it from me and Jacob commentating through these matches. We're going to head right back to Levin, Adam, and Mini to break down the rest.
Thank you so much to Carter and Jacob. Talking about round of applause for our amazing casters. I mean, absolutely crushed it. Brings so much hype, drama, entertainment. Thank you very much, fellas. You were brilliant out there today, as you were last week. iDrop and Nebs. I mean, Levin, what an unbelievable way to clutch the finish there. The last game of the day, managing to to heal up right at the last instance. Every single time backed into a corner, managed to find a way to clutch it up solo style. Amazing performance. That's exactly what you need in this competition.
Once again, I have to say today, I am noticing iDrop. What was that? We have not seen solo clutch wins as deep as that one, right? Like, we've seen solos win games. We've seen people have good solo clutches. But for solo to be a solo that long and win their game, Mini, it's unprecedented this season.
Absolutely incredible from iDrop right there. The mechanics of how he did it, the way that he kept up the pressure on high ground was absolutely perfect. He just acted like a duo all the way up there on top. And as Jacob said, everyone was tumbling down the mountain. People couldn't get all the way up to high ground. They didn't even care to look because he was just keeping on applying that pressure so well. And of course, right there at the end, I thought it was all over. But just the reaction time, the ability to box up inside of that little box he made at the bottom was absolutely perfect. The knowledge to pop that med kit, then hop into the zone was unprecedented. Beautiful stuff from iDrop, and it's what we like to see from him. He's always had that talent in him, and we can see it flourishing yet again.
Yeah, we talk about the players on this region so often, the kind of the partnerships, the new duos that are formed, and all the kind of excitement and the fireworks you mentioned last week. We hope it brings to the competition, and we've seen it time and time again today. I mean, Levin, there's been some really magic moments we've seen here. We wanted them, and we absolutely had them. The players they've delivered all the goods for us. It's been a wonderful day out.
Absolutely, it doesn't get much better, Adam, man. It's been a joy to watch.
It really has, mate. Let's have a look at the standings and see how things lie here after our week 2 of our FNCS Europe Major 1 week 2. We can see here Janice and Flixie. We've checked in with them a lot today, Mini, across this competition. And great to see them there, maxing out 352 big ones.
Yeah, fantastic job from that duo, because that's a duo that didn't actually perform too well last week in the finals. They had 192nd last week. So to boost their way up into, I'm sure, the upper bracket of the semi-finals now with a first place finish here, that is absolutely fantastic for that duo. And it's a duo that I'm particularly excited to see how they develop. I really like how they're playing. I really like the chemistry that they seem to have. I really like the vibes in that duo as well. They seem to be committed to doing well. Look at that, though. 65 places moved up for Nebs and iDrop with that iDrop solo clutch. I don't think they necessarily needed it to make it into the upper bracket, but hats off to him. I mean, he's done an incredible job there.
Hats off indeed, man. iDrop and Nebs, man. Like, of the two on these duos, I would have expected Nebs to be the one to pull up with the big clutch, right? Yeah. He's typically that player that is explosive, has that in him. But like you said earlier, Mini, iDrop has always had that talent, and it just shone through today. Really, really impressive last game.
I mean, unbelievably impressive. I think, wasn't it in a couple of games ago we were saying that Cami and Seti were in 115th? Now they're in 10th. This is ridiculous. It's unbelievable scenes. I definitely did the same thing last week as well here. But obviously, it's been an incredible day here, and this all leads towards what's going to be an unreal next kind of couple of weeks. Obviously, next week is a bye week. There's no show next week, sadly. But for the following week, there is, of course, semi-finals coming your way. Feb 16th on the Friday, it all kicks off. Levin, it's going to be one heck of a show.
I mean, these qualifiers has been great. The players have fought hard. It's been different to what we've seen in the past of FNCS, but it has been fun, and I think the players who have been able to make it through to the semi-finals are more than deserving.
Yeah, and it's going to be a spectacle to watch. That semi-final is going to be amazing. We have a mixture of sort of reboot round victory-style games mixed in with some consistency qualifications through the grand finals as well. Can't wait for that. It's going to be an absolute madness to watch unfold.
Enjoy your week off, though. Enjoy the week off.
Enjoy the week.
Yeah, enjoy
Take the
that.
week off.
Enjoy that. Just relax, because you're going to need every ounce of energy that you can muster come a couple of weeks' time from us. Thank you so much for being here for FNCS Europe Week 2 here in Major 1. Big thanks to Takata and Jacob, casting prowess on point, fellas, to the wonderful Mini Minor and 112K. Lads, I've enjoyed this a lot. You guys are the rock stars, man. I feel like I've got to won a competition to be here next year. This is amazing.
You're a real rock star.
But yeah,
It's true.
thanks, thanks, mate. It's been amazing. You guys at home as well, thank you so much for being here to watch with us. Massive shout out to all the production team, to all the players, of course, as well. We look forward to seeing you very, very soon. Make sure to keep tabs on what's coming your way in the Fortnite competitive space, and don't forget NA coming your way as well very shortly too, with Zeke and the team. Make sure to tune in for that, because that will be absolutely electric as well. We look forward to seeing you very soon. Till then, take care, and we'll see you aboard the battle bus. Bye for now.